Meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, the 23rd. If you would, silence your cell phones, please. Assistant City Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Commissioner Colodi,
Present.
Commissioner Sacks,
Here.
Commissioner Hartman,
Here.
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Here.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Thank you.
We're going to begin, as always, with the invocation. Police Department Chaplain Sheila Turner will deliver the invocation. After that, we will have a pledge of allegiance. If you care to join us in standing for the invocation.
May we bow our hands and hearts to the Lord. We thank you, Father, for allowing us to be together one more time in this great city of New Smyrna Beach, Florida. We ask that you give us the wisdom and the knowledge and understanding on what we need to recommend and approve tonight. We thank you in Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Khaled, any changes to the agenda tonight?
Yes, sir. I have one item that I would like to continue, and that is under second readings 8N, and that's ordinance number 49-22. I'd like to move it to October 11th, first meeting in October, please,
8N is in Nancy.
as in Nancy.
Okay. We'll need a motion at that time to continue it to a date certain.
Motion to approve removing 8N to the October 11th meeting.
Do you have a second to that motion?
Second.
City Clerk? Sorry. Assistant
Commissioner
City Clerk.
Sacks,
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes. All right, if you were here for item 8N, you're welcome to still comment during public participation, but that item will be heard on the date he set in October that I can't remember at the moment. Any other
11th.
changes?
11th.
11th, October 11th. Any other changes, Cal? Is that it?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. There's no announcements, presentations, or recognitions tonight. No one did anything particularly noteworthy, I guess, between this meeting and our last. So we'll have public participation. This is your chance to address the commission on any items on the agenda or on your mind. We would ask you to just come to the podium here, give your name and address for the record, limit your comments to 3 minutes, direct them to the commission. We tend to respond to all of those kind of at the end if there's follow-up items, so get whatever's on your mind or heart off, and then we'll talk afterwards. So with that, I'll open it up for public participation.
Hi there, my name is Adam Lowry, address 4432 Doris Drive. First off, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor and the City Commission. Thank you for your years of service, too, for being here, and the City Manager as well. My name is Adam Lowry. I'm a resident in New Smyrna Beach. I'm a local business owner. I own Madcap's Comedy Club. They're on 109 North Causeway. There's been a push in the last 4 years here in New Smyrna Beach to shop and support local business, an effort we supported when building our comedy club using all local contractors and vendors. This is why I wanted to appear for you today to explain to you something I'm experiencing that you may not be aware of. In summary, the Brandon Center engaged with me, asking me to produce comedy shows at their center. Multiple conversations occurred where I shared my knowledge of how to produce sustaining, successful comedy shows and how we could work together to benefit each other. Eventually, a draft contract was submitted to the Brandon Center. They chose to ignore my request for a follow-up meeting to discuss any issues or changes needed to the contract. We were never given the opportunity to follow up. They never communicated their decision or reasoning not to use Madcaps, a local business. I found out, not from the city, but from the headliner that we had previously booked because he had called me to cancel with us because he was now to perform at the Brandon Center by way of Bonkers Comedy Club, a Las Vegas-based company. The Brandon Center and Bonkers stole our headliner for their own show on Friday, October 14th. The main issue here is these shows put on by the Brandon Center and Bonkers will cripple Madcap's Comedy Club, if not put us out of business. The conclusion, now knowingly, our city is in direct competition with us 300 yards from our door, using an out-of-state company, and is willing to hurt a local business during the busy season, the months we need to make money to survive the slow season, as many businesses here do. The Brandon Center agreed and signed a lopsided contract, a contract I obtained from the City Records Department, A contract with no stated direct financial benefit to the city. There are no stated performance measures, no stated financial incentives, or percentage paid to the city. There are no requirements for marketing and no minimum attendance threshold. While this contract will cost the city $1,300 per month, it will cost us much more than that during season. It could cost us our family-owned business, a business we put all of our savings into to start here in the city we love most, our home, New Smyrna Beach. We're requesting that the contract with Bonkers Comedy be canceled due to the severe negative impact of our local business. This contract can easily be canceled according to Section 3A term and termination. It states either party may terminate this agreement with or without cause by providing no less than 60 days written notice of termination to the other party. In the event of the cancellation by the city agrees to pay any booked act within 60 days of cancellation notice. Further, I can explain that too if you have some questions on how that's done. I have a timeline of the efforts made to work with the Brandon Center on the comedy shows to obtain an explanation for the decision, as well as the issues concerning the Bonkers contract directly and how it can easily be canceled with little to no financial loss. Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, I would like permission to please hand out a timeline and a review of the contract, if that's okay with you. Thank you for your attention and your willingness to hear me. I'm available for your questions.
Thank you. If you just hand it to the assistant clerk there, she'll pass it out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear all the public participation, then we'll come back at the end and we'll have some conversation with the city manager. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Any others for public participation? Yes, ma'am. Come ahead.
My name is Kathy Jo Douglas, and I live at 1200 South Riverside Drive. First, I wish you, Mr. Owen, and thank you for your service, and I wish you all the luck in the future. And thank you, all of you, for the service that you give to our community. It really is a lot, and I recognize that, and I really appreciate it. As you know, when the 5 stop signs and 4 speed bumps were put on Magnolia, and in addition, when the 9 stop signs were added to Live Oak, the entire traffic issue there just moved to Riverside. I know the city hoped it wouldn't, but it did. So now we're here today to talk about that. We did do the traffic study as per the traffic calming manual that you voted on, I believe it was 2 years ago, or a year and a half to 2 years ago. And we worked through all the steps of the manual, achieving all the goals. We achieved the first goal, which meant 75% participation for the entire street of South Riverside. That agreed with the traffic calming in the first place. And then with this new plan, we did eventually, it took a while, achieve the 75% of the residents on South Riverside Drive agree with this plan and want to move forward with it. So we completed all the steps of the traffic calming manual, which are pretty arduous. I want to say that. And I thank you for your support tonight when that comes up on the agenda. And I can't leave without thanking Kyle Fegley, our chief engineer for the city of New Smyrna Beach. He's been amazing. I don't see him here, but he's been amazingly helpful to me and very kind and very patient. So anyway, thank you again for your support, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others for public participation?
My name's Lori Shannon. I reside at 715 Francis Avenue, 32168. Put that there. First of all, I'd like to thank Travis, an employee with the city of New Smyrna, for being kind and courteous to me on the phone. On 4 separate occasions, he directed me to City Clerk Kelly McQuillan to answer questions as to why some of the city residents were allowed to speak 3 minutes and why residents of Venetian Bay spoke much longer at that particular meeting. Unfortunately, Kelly did not return any of my phone calls. I then spoke to Sharon, which suggested that perhaps it was due to lawyers being involved at that Venetian Bay meeting. She also mentioned the prior approval was needed to speak longer, but wasn't able to tell me where that could be more explained in the city bylaws. Another thing is I also reached out to Mayor and also to the city manager via email on July 19th for any updates on the Francis Avenue properties, and again, no response. I think it's important. I've been looking on the city website since the last meetings, which was in June that I was at, and I really think it's important that somebody proofread anything that's being like this up on the city's website. There's a lot of grammatical errors and a lot of spelling errors. It's kind of embarrassing to see this being put out by our town here, so I highly suggest that. The residents also of Francis Avenue, our Citrus Manor subdivision, are looking forward to tonight's meeting to put this at rest, finally, since 1971, to make this officially a park and preserve the beautiful area on our street. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any others for public participation?
Michael Shannon, 715 Francis Avenue, Citrus Manor. I'm going to back up my wife here. Also about Citrus Manor, the last meeting seemed to go pretty well, I think, as far as the residents of Citrus Manor coming and giving their piece, so to speak, on the property over there that was going to be donated, which in past, as my wife brought up records from 1971, that was supposedly designated as a park. So I'm hoping tonight, I see on 6B, hopefully that is a resolution to take 708, 706 off the inventory, because the last time I was in here, 10 years prior to that, we were in here. So we would like to have this agenda done so that the property there is designated a park, and that hopefully, since it's been decades, hopefully we can have a park made there, okay? So hopefully that's on the agenda, and there's other Citrus Manor people in here that would like to see that done also. So I appreciate the two gentlemen, Sachs and McGurk, who voted against it or held it up the last time, and hopefully Hartman, Mayor, and Kaladi will also back us up to get a park over here. Kaladi represents us, so hopefully you'll be voting for it, because last time you didn't. Okay? So that's what I got to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Good evening.
Name is Jess Romero, 708 South Cooper Street. I want to bring to your attention about Ocean Avenue on Beachside. At Ocean Avenue, there are, as you traverse from west to east, you'll find where it starts on the river, it goes to the ocean. As you come east on Ocean Avenue from the river, you come upon Peninsula, a four-way stop sign. Heavily trafficked area, goes from 3rd Avenue all the way up to North Dune Park. As you head west, you have Goodwin Avenue. You head east, you have Goodwin Avenue. Goodwin Avenue starts at 2nd Avenue, and it dead ends at Oakwood. Two stop signs, the ones that are going north and south. You go to Pine Street, which starts at 2nd Avenue, and ends up at, I believe it's Crawford. It's a four-way stop sign. As you keep going towards the east, you come upon Yupon. Yupon is a two-stop sign going north and south, and then you have, it starts at 2nd, it ends at Oakwood. And then you come to Cooper. Cooper is it's two-way stop sign. Only if you stop, you're going north to south, south to north, but yet traveling on Ocean, when you go from east to west, there's no stop sign there. But Cooper traverses from 3rd Avenue all the way up to Florida. It crosses Flagler. You go down to Horton. Horton starts at 3rd Avenue, where the stoplight is, and it ends at Oakwood. It's a four-way stop sign in Horton. There's no traffic there. I'd like to see a traffic sign, a four-way stop sign being put on Cooper and Ocean. To slow the traffic down, it's gotten worse. I moved here 2 years ago. It's gotten worse. On that street, I had to stop, with 5 minutes to get out of my driveway today. Usually just get out. Traffic is getting worse and worse every day. Weekends, forget about it. So I'd like to see a four-way stop sign on Cooper and Ocean. I brought this up to a city employee at the meeting we had at Pine Street about the sidewalk on Pine Street, I think it was about a year and a half ago. Wrote him an email, never got a response. So here I am today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any others for public participation? Yes, ma'am, come ahead.
Hi, I'm Jill Dempsey. I live at 1519 North Peninsula Avenue, and I came before you guys a couple of weeks ago about my request for the reduced application fee on the change of zoning at 4450 South Atlantic, and you asked me to come back so that you guys had a chance to kind of talk about it, find out what the city was going to have invested in it, and so I'm just wondering if you guys have come to any conclusion on that, or where I stand with y'all.
It's item 7B tonight. So
Oh.
I think we're gonna debate. We haven't discussed or debated as a commission, but we will on item 7B, and we can call
Yep.
you up during that if we have questions. But we'll-
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Any others for public participation? All right. Mark, are you coming this way or are you going out? He's coming this way. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Mark?
Commissioners, Mark Beckwith, 1208 South Riverside Drive. Commenting on Phase 2 of the traffic calming on Riverside Drive. Just really want to encourage you all. I want to thank you, first off, for Phase 1. And I want to encourage you all to complete Phase 2. We still do see excessive speeding. Phase 1 has helped, but if you get up in the morning at 6 a.m. and sit on your front porch, you'll see a lot of cars go whizzing by, and same at night. So I encourage you to adopt it and move forward with the plan, and I hope that you consider as well that all we're really asking is that you do for Riverside Drive what you've done for all the other streets in our immediate neighborhood. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. All right. Any others here for public participation? Hello.
Once again, thank you for all things you guys do. So I know it's not unappreciative. I'm Jeff Doutman. I live at 1000 South Riverside, and I'm here about the traffic calming also. Phase 1 has been great, but Phase 2 is absolutely needed because, as he just stated, the speeds are increasing. They don't mean it. It's very simple to do. I see kids on their phones texting. It's just something that happens. There's a tunnel that you shoot right down. They're used to doing it now. And it's just something we need to address and get it handled, over with, and done. And we appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no others for public participation, we're going to close public participation. All right, come ahead.
I just got off work.
Sorry.
My name's Jennifer Swalker. I live at 713 Francis Avenue. I spoke with you guys the last meeting about Francis Avenue. I appreciate you guys kind of tabling our addresses that were in concern. I don't know where we're at with it. I am trying to keep up. I hear all kinds of things. I haven't heard anything official. So I just want to let you know that I saw a beautiful thing the other day. It was a young family walking down the road with their new baby, and they live on our road. And they're excited that there's potential talk that maybe we would be able to get a park put in. And then the very next night, I got to see a young family playing tag with their 2 small children and their dog running on a long leash. And I just want you to know that I absolutely love that, and I love that for my grandson, so I'm just reminding you guys of that. I love the green space. I I'm not sure what the question is and how far back we have to look to decide what we're doing with this piece of property. You guys may know, and maybe I haven't been informed yet. I just would like to know how we find out what the next step is, or who is making that decision of what we found out in history. I think it's a topic tonight, but I know I can't talk then, so I'm just kind of getting up here before you guys get to discuss. I do have concerns about, we were speaking about one address a few weeks ago, but there's really two addresses there, so I want to know if that got clarified, because it sounded like one kind of got dropped and forgotten. So I want to know if we're talking about one or two, and also if there are deals with Habitat for Humanity. I know we tabled as far as building the affordable housing, but I've heard rumor, again, because I don't know until I hear officially, that potentially Habitat was looking to purchase or donate or help with a park. I love the idea, but I have concerns about the idea too. So I just would like, if hopefully when we get to that, maybe I'll get all my questions answered. But I appreciate you all, and go green space in our manner. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any others? Seeing none, we will now officially close public participation. I wanted to come back to a couple of these items. I feel like we owe some answers. I'll kind of go in reverse order. Ocean Avenue and Cooper, is that something we can look at? I don't know that I tracked everything, but it sounded like maybe one of the busier intersections we don't have a four-way, and some of the slower ones we do. So I can't make a decision based on what I just heard, but.
We'll look at it and come back with a recommendation to the commission.
Okay, so maybe if city staff and whoever the zone rep for that area is, you can talk about it and come back with a proposal of what the right thing to do is. For the Francis Avenue folks, I did want to clarify, for the Venetian Bay, why some people can speak longer than others. So during public participation, it's always 3 minutes. During a public hearing, so where it's literally a legal proceeding, both sides are allowed time to speak. So what we've been dealing with, what you did tonight, that's just public participation. That's your chance to get up. You can talk about moon rocks, you can talk about whatever you want. We give you 3 minutes. During a public hearing, which is a legal proceeding, the lawyers get their time, the residents get their time, any interested party gets their time. So there is a very distinct difference. So it wasn't like we were like, oh, no, not you, but you can. It was very much a difference in the agenda and the proceeding. As to the typos and everything else, I can't speak to that. We try our best. We're not perfect. We're open to having citizen proofreaders. We will answer a lot of the questions tonight. That is an agenda item. We'll get some official stuff on the books tonight. We'll just save that discussion for then, if that's okay. Hopefully you can hang out with us a little bit longer on that. And on the comedy club, I don't know about my colleagues. I didn't like much of what I heard out of that, other than the fact that we're doing stand-up comedy in the city, which I am a huge fan of, but I don't like competing with local businesses. I've made that point before with the food trucks and everything else. So can you look into that and get back to us?
Mayor, I have met with Adam some time ago, and I talked to the staff, and we are working on canceling the contract with the other company.
Okay, because again, I like the concept. I like trying to use the Brandon Center, generate some revenue, bring some good fun. It probably should be family friendly, maybe at the Brandon Center. I don't want videos of some raunchy comedian in the Brandon Center, but I personally would like to see us work with a local company if we're going to do it. That's just me, but
we'll be working with Adam as well.
Okay. I think that addressed most of the things I heard during public participation. Riverside is on the agenda tonight. So, all right. With that, we have the consent agenda. Gentlemen, there are 8 items. We'll begin down on this end. Anybody wish to pull anything for a vote? Or if you just have very, very brief comments, you can just make those as we come down the line. Commissioner Colodi.
I do have comments on 6E and 6F.
Go ahead on those. Or
They will
you want to
not
pull?
be brief.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead.
6E has to do with the funding for our workforce, affordable housing. I myself am not really a big fan of taller buildings to be used for affordable housing, but I have worked with the representative of the Housing Authority and the developer to minimize what impact this can have on the existing neighborhood. They've accommodated my concerns and made some changes to the project. The real effort that's going to have to be put in, and I'm sure our Housing Authority is up to it, is to make sure that when completed, the project does not become detrimental to the neighborhood. And I've been assured that it won't be, and they are now in my zone, so I will be monitoring that very carefully. I fully support the project. I want to see it done and built as soon as possible. We passed the point of debating it, and now we just have to implement it and use it to the best of our abilities. That's 6E. 6F, our traffic calming plan. I had a community meeting out there, attended by close to 100 people from Riverside, Magnolia, Palmetto, and the other cross streets out there. There's a lot of interest in improving the neighborhood as a whole. This plan that's presented, I think, could be better, and I view this as a first step. I do have a little bit of concern over the timing, because the Fifth Street Bridge is going to be removed and replaced, and for a period of time, which will probably be a year to a year and a half. The traffic patterns that both exist and those that we're proposing to put in are going to be totally disrupted, and the entire neighborhood is. So I want all those people who attended that meeting and everybody else in that zone to understand I support this as a first step. More has to be done in that neighborhood, because over the next half year when that bridge comes down, it's going to be living heck out there, because cars are going to be going all over the place. And we just have to plan for that, be ready for it, whether it takes additional enforcement or whatever, but we don't want it to get out of control. There's two features on the plan that show crosswalks crossing Riverside towards the river. And there are no sidewalks anywhere along that side of Riverside. I want to assure the residents out there, this is not a plan to lead towards sidewalks on the other side of the bridge, has not even been included. However, I don't like the idea of those crosswalks. I don't want to set any precedent, so. Those are my comments. I do support it, and I will be voting for it.
Okay. Commissioner Sachs, anything to pull or comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have 6C to pull.
6C to pull. Okay. Vice
No,
Mayor?
Mayor, nothing, thank you.
Do you want to make comments? I just noticed that the one item that I think a few folks are here about, the Francis, is actually on the consent. So if there were comments to be made, now's actually the time on that. Did you want to make any comments on that, or?
Yeah,
have
that's
staff?
fine. I certainly would.
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. So I think the understanding is the Habitat has approached us with an idea. I don't know, from your comments, they haven't reached out to you yet. I think they will, and I think there's discussion about the possibility of a park. It's very early. We're going to remove, if it goes through tonight, those two properties from the allocation to an affordable house, the allocation of having the properties available for affordable housing. So that's what's going to happen during the consent agenda, which will happen in a few minutes. And I think there's a lot of discussion that goes on where the goal is to make this a park, one way or another in some form or fashion. So what I'd like you guys to do is feel free to get in touch with me. I'll give Assistant City Clerk my cards, and you guys can get my cell phone number and email from her. I'm not your district representative, so what I want to make sure that
you were. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. That's why I pointed to you. I'm sorry. My bad.
But I'm sure I'm sure Mike will be more than happy to point out that the changes, as he wasn't in favor for, with the redistricting. But anyway, so I think there's movement there. I think there's a lot of good news. And so, I'm going to let your district representative jump out and handle this, but I'm more than happy to talk with you guys about anything you want. So, that being said, that's all I got, Mayor.
I'd seen you lean up when one of the people were talking, so I just, in my head, I was thinking that was your area. Colin, did you, sorry, go ahead, yeah, if you want to make comments on that one.
Well, I appreciate that, but I must say that after the last meeting, when we decided not to go ahead, I did contact Mr. Shannon. He said he didn't want to talk to me about it, though I hope he's changed. I do have an email on that.
Hang on.
Shannon, I believe, I could have the name wrong, but I'll get it and I'll supply it to you. I'm there to talk to you about this project. I'm there to talk to you about Habitat and the fact that they are building not only, that was only one small part of the project. They're building other houses elsewhere. And if they're willing to provide some neighborhood impact funds that, on first glance, I haven't talked to them about it either to any extent, that money should be used wherever they're building, as well as perhaps on your street. So after the meeting, if you want to stick around, we could talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you have anything to add to that,
Yeah,
Colin?
Mayor, I just want to point out a few things. If you recall, Habitat has mentioned that they would like to spend $25,000 on this Francis lots. I'm meeting with Frank Billing on Thursday to see what their idea is, but I have mentioned to them that they need to meet with the residents prior to do anything. I'm not sure if the president, they just want it to be open space, they want it to be a park, but I think they need to have the residents' input. So I'm meeting with him on Thursday, and then I was gonna bring that topic as well on the workshop on the 30th for the commission to make the final decision.
Okay. All right.
So on that 6B, so the only thing we're doing tonight is removing it from the inventory for affordable housing. That's it. We're not declaring it a park or even doing anything. We're just taking it off.
Just removing it off the list, so this way it's out and there is no need to discuss it anymore, and it will be an open space or a park, whatever we decided to do.
Okay, on 6F, traffic calming on Riverside. You guys have been extremely patient. I just hope that you're a little bit more patient because this is an unfunded project. So just have a little more patience with this while we try to find money. So just keep that in mind. And so I certainly support the idea. I support the project. I think they followed the traffic manual just like we asked them to. And Kyle's come up with his recommendations. So I support the idea. Just you may need a little bit more patience before it actually gets done.
Okay. All right, so I think that's all the consent agenda. We had pulled item 6C. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding item 6C?
So moved.
Second.
We'll take the second from Commissioner Colodi. I heard it loudest. Assistant City Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
So if you were here for items A through H under 6, your item has been approved, unless it was item 6C, which I doubt anybody was here for. You pulled that one, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 6C, allowing the mayor to be voting remotely, gives me a little bit of angst. Generally, we're in a period that is not an emergency. The governor has declared the COVID emergency over. At this point, I don't believe anyone is remotely voting. They may be participating and listening to commission meetings which have a quorum. I believe the one coming up will have a quorum. According to the state, the term quorum is defined as who must be present. And that word present kind of stuck out to me for the deliberative assembly to legally transact business. I'm afraid that even though this is a one-time thing, that we may be setting a precedent that I'm not sure is even legal in the eyes of the state. So I'm going to oppose it.
Okay.
At this point, if you guys, I have more to say, but it's not necessary. I think you get the gist of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, let me just add this. Commissioner Hartman will be out on vacation. Mayor Owen will be out due to work issues or conflict. And so there's quite a bit of difference where one is granted the opportunity to vote from remote and the other is not. It's kind of making us unequal in a way. I mean, it sounds like Commissioner Hartman would be abstaining if you would be voting. If you're both not here, it's almost like an abstention on Commissioner Hartman's part, even though he's just not going to be here. He's going to be away abroad, I believe. So, which makes it difficult for him to participate. So then I would say, you know, only the guys that are present should participate and keep that simple. So that's why I would oppose that tonight.
Okay.
Thanks.
Commissioner Colodi.
Well, I've made every meeting that I have been assigned to attend. I view it as very important. But things do come up. If it is legal, I'm all for it. Because in this particular instance, there's a time frame that's very hard to comply with, that's set not by us for attendance at these meetings. I know there was a lot of discussion to try to find meeting time that was available to all of us, and that just didn't happen. So in this particular case, I would rather have all 5 members up here able to vote on an issue as important as the budget. So I support it.
Okay. Carrie, any concerns legally? Quorum is
No.
physical presence. Obviously, we
Right.
can all 5 remotely attend and abscond or duty, but
Yes.
quorum and voting are very
If
different.
we did not have a physical quorum, then we would have a problem and you would not be able to remotely attend.
Right.
However, I'm staring at an AG opinion that allows for this under extraordinary circumstances. So due to your inability to change it, your inability to be here, your inability to change it, and the fact that it's a budget hearing, that's the basis for the extraordinary circumstances. Commissioner Hartman did not request to attend remotely. He's unable to attend remotely because of the time change. Anyways, moving on beyond that. So we're here tonight. There was consensus to put this on the agenda. We've moved it forward, and I believe we should just take
I
the
was
vote.
making sure you were comfortable legally.
Yes.
All right. Any other comments on this item?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I echo the sentiments of the city attorney. Same thing with Commissioner Colodi. I have no problem with this. I think it is great that he is making the effort to be able to, under the circumstances, attend and get his vote in. And I have absolutely no problem with it. I think it's good we're getting it done. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Do you have anything to add or no?
Well, I would if I could, but time restraints and internet access are limited to where I may be, so that's why I won't be attending remotely the first meeting, so.
Okay.
Motion
So,
to
Mr. Mayor,
approve
if I may
6C.
make a comment.
Hang on, you can't have, we got a motion on the table, so let's get that, let's see if we get a second. I'll let you have some discussion. To have a second to the motion?
Second.
Discussion?
Just quickly, our Attorney General for the state, Ashley Moody, used a previous opinion from the Attorney General Smith. He concluded that, for example, in this case, the county could not conduct a meeting unless members constituting a quorum were physically present.
Which we will have. That would be 3 of us physically present.
Well, you have to be present to vote.
No,
That's how
no,
I
no.
read it.
Well, you're not an attorney, and with all due respect. The quorum is physically present. To hold the meeting, you have to have a quorum that is physically present. It says nothing in there about remote voting within that meeting or participation in that meeting, and it is commonly done not in our state, but across many other states. We don't. I don't know that it's setting a precedent or not. Frankly, I don't want to do this. I would much rather not. I feel it's my duty to vote on the budget since I've supported many items in the budget. All right, we have a motion, we have a second, we have an opinion from our attorney. City Clerk, if you call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
No.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item 7A. Bob, do we have a report on this?
Yes, sir. So under 7A, we have actually two separate items, so they will be independently voted on. The first item is a fee waiver or reduction. It's been applied for by Jill Dipsey. She's requested a relief from either a fee waiver or fee reduction for a rezoning.
I'm reading 7A as a boat dock. Is everybody else reading it that way, or do I have it?
I'm a boat dock.
You're on the boat
Boat
dock.
dock? I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Okay. Okay, so this is the boat slips for 1200 North. Okay, so the property owner at 1200 North Peninsula Avenue has requested an allocation of 2 slips from the city's slip pool allocation in order to allow for construction of a single-family boat dock. If approved, the total remaining number of slips in the slip pool will be 1,280. So in October 2005, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission approved Phase 2 of the Volusia County Manatee Protection Plan. Phase 2 includes the boat facility seating plan. This boat facility seating plan established a boat slip to shoreline ratio throughout the county. It mandates the use of specific seating criteria and creates a mitigation fee that would support the Manatee Conservation Fund for additional on-the-water manatee speed zone enforcement and conservation. On November 21st, 2006, the City Commission adopted these amendments to the city's comprehensive plan, including goals, objectives, and policies to be used to implement the requirements of the Manatee Protection Plan. So under the boats facility seating plan, the city participates in that allocation program. The city originally had 1,480 slips that could be allocated to future developments within the city. Any single-family residential lot with riparian rights that was in existence on or before the adoption of Phase 2 of the Manatee Protection Plan is automatically allowed to have up to 2 boat slips. This particular property was part of a minor subdivision application that was approved back in December of 2021 and was not included in the original 2006 slip allocation process with Volusia County. So the applicant has requested 2 slips out of the city slip pool. If this is approved by the City Commission, the city would still have 1,280 slips left in that slip pool, and the property owner, the vacant parcel, has planned to construct a single-family house. So since the request is not for a large private project, staff recommends approval of the requested allocation of 2 slips from the city slip pool in order to construct the single-family dock at 1200 North Peninsula Avenue with the following conditions. 1, if the slip allocation will expire 3 years after the date of the City Commission approval if the proposed slips have not been constructed. And that is a summary of the staff report, subject to any questions the Commission may have.
Any questions of staff on this report?
One question. Why would the boat slip allocation approval be, why would it expire?
Well, currently, right now, under the Manatee Launch Plan, if you do issue slips to slip pool, they have 3 years to construct it. If they don't construct in 3 years, it goes back to the slip pool. If they want to reapply, they could reapply after 3 years.
Thank you.
But if they build it, it doesn't expire. It's 3 years
Correct.
to build.
Correct. They got 3 years to build the 2 slips.
Okay. Any other questions of staff on this item?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by the Vice Mayor, second by Commissioner Hartman. City Clerk, Assistant City Clerk Sharon.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. 7A is approved. Bob, I think it's still you. Item 7B. Now we're on the fee reduction.
Okay, so now I'm on the right track. So Jill Dempsey has requested for relief from either a fee waiver or a fee reduction for rezoning and small-scale comprehensive plan amendment application. She owns an undeveloped parcel of land located at 4450 South Atlantic Avenue. The current zoning is B2, neighborhood business, with a future land use of commercial. A rezoning application fee is $5,000, and an application to change future land use is $2,500. So Ms. Dempsey has expressed her desire to construct a duplex on this parcel, but the B2 zoning does not allow for a duplex as a permitted use. The minimum residential permitted use in the B2 would be a multifamily use, and the current parcel is too small for a multifamily use, but a duplex could fit on this parcel. So Ms. Dempsey feels that the current application fees were unfair to such a small project, as its fees seem to be geared to a larger project that require more impact to staff time and hard cost. So staff would recommend that any revised application fee would at least cover the estimated hard cost to the department of around $500. And that's
Okay. Discussion on this item? It's the commission's pleasure.
I understand the problem. However, I believe everything was very clear in our codes and our ordinances prior entering into, Ms. Dempsey entering into a contract to purchase. I'm basically opposed to any type of waiver. If we have something that's egregious in our ordinance on fees, they should be addressed. I agree with that. But I don't agree with giving waivers.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
So considering 7B,
I'm gonna have some questions.
Sorry?
I was getting Bob back up in case we had
Yes,
questions.
thanks, Bob. Considering 7B, my first problem is that we have two items that the only similarity is that waivers are requested. They're two totally different items, which should be separate, I believe. So I have a problem with that item right there. I do agree with Ms. Dempsey that we should look at the fee size according to the applicant's size of their project. And I would wish and hope that we could bring this back after we decide if that is in order, that her project being smaller does not pay the same size fee. And the other concern I have just with Ms. Dempsey's application for the waiver is the grandfather clause. Will folks come in right after her and say, we want a waiver too, also? So that gives me a little bit of heartburn. So, but with the commission's pleasure and the advice of staff and our attorney, I don't know if I could grant either of these refunds. The school had paid their fee already?
We're just talking about the one.
All right.
It's under one
Well-
agenda item, but we're taking two separate motions. We're doing them one by one. So we can call it 7C if we want. So we'll take the school 7C, this is 7B. So no discussion on the school yet. Let's keep them separate.
Well, then with 7B, I would suggest that we bring it back after we consider different fees for different size parcels.
Okay.
If we're going to go in that direction.
I'll jump out. I happen to, so I don't think that Ms. Dempsey's wrong. I think I agree with almost everything you just said, Commissioner Sachs. I think that we probably need to look at this. It probably is set up for large-scale projects, not a little one-off, small-scale project like this. But I get very nervous about trying to do this midstream, because all of a sudden then who shows up next meeting and says, oh, wait a minute, only 2 months ago I paid this, or only a month ago I paid this. And so then it becomes very, so I would like to see us, and I don't know exactly where she's at on her project, and I know business, moves fast and money is, time is money. But I would prefer to see us, if we think there's a systemic problem that's been raised, which I think there may be, I would like to see us address that systemic problem and then bring it back. And if she can wait and submit under that new fee structure that we've corrected, with maybe even her input and the input of staff and the approval of the commission, that's where we go. I feel like this waiver opens us up to, why this one and what about the other 20 of these that might have come forward recently. So that's my concern. So I think I echo most of what the two of you all said, probably better than I did. So that's where I'm at on that one particularly.
One more quick comment,
Sure.
Mr. Mayor. The fees, I don't know, are they concomitant with all the work that has been done and all the permits and everything that normally have to be paid? You think the city is covered with just the $500?
Well, we have two different type of costs. We have a hard cost and a soft cost. So the hard cost is what we have to pay out to other agencies. So advertisement fee or recording fees that the city clerks records these ordinances. And then we have soft fees, which is staff time. So you have applications, both of these particular applications would go to a planning and zoning board, and then of course 2 hearings here with the city commission. We'd have to send these applications off to other state agencies for their 28-day or their review. So you have the city attorney's office involved. They have staff that provides those ordinances and prepares them. You have
There's also 2 different types of ads.
Yes.
You know, the use change has a more expensive ad. There's staff time in preparing the staff reports, reviewing the staff reports from whoever enters them all the way up to me, Khalid, the time here, the time at the planning and zoning.
So there's hard costs and soft costs. The hard costs are the actual checks we write, newspapers, et cetera. Soft costs are, we're paying Bob Rutten out of stand there. We're paying Carrie, those are all costs. So
So
the
you have a bunch of
500
different
was,
departments are involved.
what was the 500? Soft?
We just estimated what a hard cost would be.
Roughly the hard cost, yeah.
Because when we advertise, like for planning and zoning board, we include other items in advertisements, so it's kind of shared across the board. So it's a little cheaper. For the planning and zoning board, city commission may be a little bit more.
Okay. So my question, Bob, have you seen in other municipalities a fee structure that considers kind of the size and scope of the project, or would we be kind of going off the rails if we went in that direction?
We would have to
For
investigate
rezoning.
the other fees that other cities have to see if they have a separate.
Staff, what is that? How does that hit you just off the top? Trying to look at it with a sense of scale. Because I agree, if this is Walmart coming in, 5,000 is a rounding error. If this is one little lot, this is, could be 3% of the project, so how does that hit you?
It's very difficult to work on a specific, make one, fits all.
Yeah.
In terms of number of meetings and all of that, the amount of staff time is the same there. I would just say for the larger projects, they have more comments. The back and forth on the comments is where the change is. But in terms of meeting time, that's all the same. The ads are the same.
Right, and those hard costs would be like for each application, so.
But even those soft costs with meeting time, review time, and all of that, that's the same as well.
Right. And where we do have a slide scale for application fees, it's usually the project is either under 10 acres or over 10 acres.
Yeah. I was thinking like impact fees, like the, percent of, like square footage driven type calculation. But if we're the only municipality in the world that's doing that, I don't necessarily want to barnstorm that, so.
The only thing, Mayor, is it depends on the complexity of the project, so.
Yeah.
That's the difficult part about it. It's sometimes you might have something under 10 acres and it might not take as much staff time as much as another project.
So that's our
Depending on-
cutoff now, is above 10 or under 10 acres, that's the, okay. All right, thoughts over here, anything to add?
Yeah, I think they're all good thoughts, and I think you motioned to me when I think it's very noble that we try to plan everything. But in the end, as hard as we try, sometimes we end up messing things up even further. We make it more complicated when we try to make it easier. And I think that the bottom line is sometimes you're just gonna have a situation where you have a resident who comes in and says, hey, I'm not Walmart. And you're gonna make a judgment call. So I want clarification. We have 2 different ones, A and B on this, all right? One's a school.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
We were just talking about the first one for now.
Yeah.
There's 2 different requests for 2 different motions.
But I just wanted to make sure that we're there, and I think we should have 2 different motions.
Yes.
Yes. we are.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Yes.
Wanted to make sure. So, listen, so the total for the first one, which is Ms. Dempsey's, is going to be it's 7,500 total?
Yes.
Okay. So Ms. Dempsey's not Walmart, the duplex is not Walmart. I understand all the complications. There seems, she feels that there is a discrepancy in something. I'm willing to cut that item in half. We could always do it. Everything that was discussed was great, and I'm not against that. But I also look at this as, we got so many things on the table. We're not going to reinvent the wheel here. We're going to have more staff time on this thing. We've got a lot of things to do. And I'm just not going to treat Ms. Dempsey like she's Walmart coming in for text amendments and so on and so forth. So she took the time to come in, and, maybe she gets it, maybe she doesn't.
Last question, Bob, and then we'll move on if y'all are okay. Or we'll hear from Commissioner Hartman if he has any comments, then I'll take a motion. Bob, how often does this happen on this scale? I mean, is this kind of a weird thing that we have a lot of this size that's kind of going through this process? Is it usually the big dogs coming in, or is this a pretty common thing where we could be opening us and future commissions up to kind of people always coming up and asking, hey, could you, would you?
A project of this scale is not common for the city.
That would
commission.
need rezoning, I'm saying.
Right, the rezoning for such a small parcel.
Yeah.
Normally, applications we have are close to a 10 acre or they're over 10 acres.
So it's kind of right on the cusp.
Correct.
So this is kind of an oddity that somebody's bringing in a relatively small parcel and project and needing a rezoning.
Correct. And most of the time, we don't have many rezonings to straight zoning. They're rezonings to a PUD. So that's a totally different application cost if they're rezoning to a PUD. So most of our rezonings are PUD, but they may also have future land use modifications as well.
Commissioner Hartman, you're the only one that hasn't commented. If you want to, now's your chance.
No, I think everybody's pretty much covered everything.
All right, do we have a motion on this item?
Are you making them? I don't want to jump in front of you.
No, I'm not going to make a motion.
Make a motion for item A, Ms. Dempsey's, to reduce the fee by half.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All right, so a yes vote reduces the fee by half. A no vote, Carrie, help me out here, just want to make sure the commission
It
understands.
will leave it the same.
It will leave it as is. We could make another motion for a different amount. I mean, I don't want to do that all night. But we could entertain one more maybe and then move on as a body. Okay, so a yes vote is reduced by half. A no vote will bring it back to us for further, or just moving on, it remains the same. So everybody's clear on that? Any questions on the motion?
No, I'm not clear, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's all right. That's why I want to make sure.
A
So
yes vote?
a
is
yes
to
vote
approve
reduces
your
it by
half.
half.
Yes.
A no vote leaves it as is, so no adjustments to the fee. She's paying it exactly what it was the day she walked in, unless another motion is made, which we could do in theory. We'll figure that out. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right,
Discussion.
sure.
We've had a lot of discussion on this. A lot of it centered under whether we should or we shouldn't modify the way we charge the fees. I would much prefer to have our staff provide us with a little background information on this before we just jump in and do something that may be setting a precedent. So I'm not for it.
Okay. All right. We had a,
I'd be willing to make that motion if staff has the time.
hang on, we got a motion on the table, so you can't. We got a motion on the table.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that's literally how it works. You got a motion on the table, so you can't have another one. You got to resolve this one, then we can get the other one. So
Okay.
let's get a vote on this motion.
Commissioner Sacks?
No.
Commissioner Colodi?
No.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Killing me. Yes. So it's reduced by half. And I tend to agree with Commissioner, Vice Mayor McGurk, rather. I think at the end of the day, we could probably go down some huge rabbit hole, spend a ton of staff time, and still end up with some nuance. I hope I didn't set some future commission up for, hearing much more of these, but.
Yeah, I think in the future, when something like this comes up, since we've seen this before, I think it's best that whatever staff can come to us maybe with some more information or some recommendations. They're there, but, and that's not on you, that's on us. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you didn't do something. I want to make that clear.
All right, we had another one. We got the school, and Bob, I'll let you introduce it, and then Commissioner Hartman, it's kind of your item, so I'll come to you first on that. Go ahead.
So yes, so at the August 9th, 2022 City Commission meeting, Commissioner Hartman expressed the desire to refund the application fee of $2,500 for a zoning text amendment application, adding schools as a special exception use in the B3 Highway Service Business District to the Upward Trend Academy. The owners of the Upward Trend Academy wanted to relocate their property that was located on North Warner Street. The Academy applied for a zoning text amendment to add schools as a special exception to the B3 zoning district. This amendment was also approved by the City Commission on this amendment was also approved by the City Commission. So the Academy also applied for a special exception use, which was approved on June 28th. That application fee was $500. So staff would recommend a full refund of the zoning text amendment application fee of the $2,500, since that amendment would benefit many property owners located in the B3 Highway Service Business District and not just the applicant.
Mr. Hartman, do you want to?
So as I spoke before, this isn't just about an individual business, but it affects multiple businesses throughout that B3 district. So, and we have other ones that have come before us that have been initiated by staff. I think there was a timing issue with this one that kind of made it, they're trying to get in a little, before the end of the school year, so they agreed to pay the funds up front. The difference between this one and the previous one is they've paid the money, they paid the fine. And so what I would like to see us do is to refund them that amount that they paid for that, since it benefits more than just one piece of property.
Okay.
Question.
Sure.
May it also be deleterious to another applicant who comes, let's say a bar or a restaurant that serves liquor, probably a bar, that cannot be close to a school? They don't benefit, correct?
Are you talking about within 500 feet?
500?
I'd have to pull it up, but Bob, do you know off the top of your head? Is it
Yes.
500 feet?
Hang on, but I guess I don't track you. You're saying the change we made could be
Yes.
negative to a business?
Yes, it could be, we're looking at a positive impact for this use, but there could be a negative impact.
But tonight, the use is already decided like 3 meetings ago. We're just talking about whether we refund the fee or not. We're not debating the change of use tonight.
Okay, then.
I'm saying that was
Yeah,
the
no.
zoning change we made. The school's already there, they're open. This is just about, in previous cases, just like this, we didn't charge a fee because it came from staff, and in this case, we did charge a fee. So I think Commissioner Hartman had highlighted it was
You're
just, it was an abnormality. You may have a valid point on the zoning. I don't want to dismiss it. I'm just saying that ship
That's done
sailed
already. You're
on that
right.
item. Any other issues on this one? Commissioner Hartman, do you have a motion? Or does anybody have a motion? Sorry.
Make a motion that we refund the fees of $2,500.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, yes, go ahead.
The circumstances are a little bit different between this one and the last one. However, the net result is the same. We're flying by the seat of our pants. We're opening everything up to renegotiating. There's a reason we have a fee schedule. We are a business, and we're supposed to follow those rules. As much as I like their application, I think it's tremendous, and I do want to support them. However, I do not support the waiver.
Okay. All right, had a motion? Yes, go ahead.
Commissioner Colodey's comment, we've already opened the can of worms because we're not charging everybody equally across the board for the same fee. It depends on who you are, how it's presented, whether it's a staff initiated, whether it comes from some other group or comes from the Historic Society. So we haven't consistently done that. And that was the reason why I brought this up, was of the inconsistencies. Now, this is an individual item, a single item, so we're not setting any precedents anywhere. And I think it's within our purview as sitting up here on this dais to do those types of things. So I would ask you to reconsider your vote.
I understand your point. However, I disagree with it.
Okay.
Everybody will have some different wrinkle as to why they need a change, and I'm not for that.
Okay.
Perhaps it would have been more important that we can, and there's no rush to judgment on this one. Maybe we should look into what you're saying, and I agree with you. that the way we calculate the fees for whether it's something we bring up or whether it's something property owner brings up should be looked at. Once again, there's no rush.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we did have a motion and a second tonight. Sharon, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Colodi,
No.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks,
No.
Mayor Owen.
Yes. All right, that item is approved. Thank you, Bob. Item 8A, City Attorney, if you read these a second time by title only.
Ordinance number 3322, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 5 zoning districts, Section 50402, specific regulations by district, I-1 light industrial district, I-2 heavy industrial district, I-3 industrial park district, and I-4 waterfront industrial district, by removing the noise regulations to allow for comprehensive noise regulations in the city code, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay. Bob, is this you too?
Yes, sir. So basically, this ordinance is to remove the section out of I-1, I-2, I-3, and I-4 as it deals with performance standards for noise. And the next ordinance are going to be placing that actually in the code of ordinance so that it's more citywide instead of just zone specific.
Okay. All right. This is a public hearing. Any members of the public wish to comment on item 8A? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 3322?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion on this item? City Clerk?
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks,
No.
Commissioner Colodi,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes. All right, 3422, City Attorney.
Ordinance number 3422, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 38 Environment, Article 3 Noise, Sections 3871 through 3877 to provide for comprehensive and enhanced noise regulations, amending Chapter 38 Environment to establish a new Article 4 Lighting, Sections 3878 through 3880 to establish light regulations, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Wow.
Yes, sir. So this proposed ordinance would amend Article 3, Chapter 38, Part 2 of the city's code of ordinance referring to noise and light. So staff's been instructed to review the current land development regulations as they pertain to acceptable noise levels in the city's industrial zoning districts. So staff reviewed the current noise and lighting regulation from other jurisdictions to get a baseline of what currently exists with Volusia County, including Volusia County. So with the help of the other city departments, including the building department, the code compliance department, and the city attorney's office, it was decided to remove the existing noise regulation that was located in the industrial zoning districts and place the new regulation in the code of ordinance so that the new regulation could be citywide and not dependent on the zoning district. Staff also added lighting regulations to this amendment. The staff conducted a community meeting on August 16th, 2022 to present the proposed amendments to citizens and local business owners. That meeting was attended around about 30 people of more interested citizens. By the end of the meeting, staff believes that there was an overwhelming support of the amendments, so staff has recommended the City Commission to approve the requested amendments to Article 3, Chapter 38, Part 2 of the City Code of Ordinance, amending the noise and light regulations. And that is the summary of my staff report. Except any questions the Commission may have.
Okay, any questions on this item for staff?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So Bob, currently, if a person has a complaint and they make that complaint to the police department, they can remain anonymous with the police department?
I'm not sure about that question.
Let's get
Those
Chief
are,
up here. Or go ahead, Kara, if you know the answer.
So if they're going to the police, that's not a code enforcement complaint, so they could remain, they would call the police out and the police have to hear it.
And so if the complaint comes to code enforcement, they do have to disclose their name, I assume?
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's a big problem for me because
Well,
people will
that's
be-
not
What is that?
within our control, that's a state statute.
I know,
And this ordinance isn't changing that,
I know.
is it?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I agree. I hate the change. State made the change. The whole, you gotta disclose, I mean, it's, so,
But you have the option to call the police.
okay.
Will every police
Overworked.
officer have a device to measure sound?
I know that the code compliance officers are budgeted for them to have those devices. I'm not sure if I can answer the question for the police department. That may have to be something the chief may have to ask.
Yeah.
But I know for code and compliance, it's in the budget for them to have those meters.
See, that makes it tough for me because when I think about it, code compliance is only open in the daytime. A lot of complaints come at night for noise and they're not open on weekends. So by the time you make a complaint, how is it properly registered?
Right. I believe for the police department, it's still listed in there what was there before, which is a judgment called by the actual officer that comes to the scene.
That also is kind of subjective, depending on the person's ear, that we cannot measure decibels. So, you know, if it's 60, normal people talking at a normal volume of their voice is supposedly 60, but I defy anyone to accurately measure with just their ear decibels.
Well, it says any law enforcement officer or code compliance officer who hears a sound that is plainly audible shall measure the sound according to the following standards. The primary means of detection shall be by means of the ordinary auditory senses, so long as the person's hearing is not enhanced by any mechanical or electronic device such as a microphone or hearing aid. If audible and loud enough to be presumed in violation of the general prohibition on noise or excessive sound, then a code compliance officer or police officer shall then measure the sound in accordance with these other provisions. So
those provisions at this time would only be their ear, Carrie, I'm assuming?
well, then they can go ahead and measure. Go ahead.
We will buy the police department the tools, the same tool that code enforcement officer have, and they could be using it, after hours.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Carrie. And Bob.
All right, any other questions of staff? This is a public hearing. Any members of the public here for item 8B? Yes, come ahead. You gotta come to the mic so we can get it on the record.
Lori Shannon, 715 Francis Avenue. I just was listening to all of this, new to me. Does this mean like if you're in the industrial zone, you're working, that's your job, and it gets too noisy for the residents that might be also in a residential area around the industrial zone, that they can call and complain to the code enforcement or police officer that there's too much noise going on within that business?
Yes, and there's a level that they'll come out and measure, and if they're in violation of it, then the business can be cited.
Wow. Okay, so if this person just moves into there, they're knowing they're moving into an industrial zone. Why are they moving there if they know that's already a possibility, that there's going to be a lot of noise, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 industrial zones? To me, I think something needs to be a little adjusted there as far as the noise level. I mean, you're in an industrial zone, so just wanted to thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. Okay. For clarity, come ahead, Jess, but for clarity on that, it's the receiving zone, so it'd be an industrial next to a residential. So if it's industrial to industrial, if you move into an industrial zone, which you can't because it'd be residences, but it's the receiving. So if it's an industrial and a residential next to each other, there are rules about how much sound can go, and that's for resident quality of life. So we don't want somebody launching rockets or building rocket engines next to a residence. So yes, Jess.
Jess Romero, 708 South Cooper Street. Did I hear correctly that's being imposed across the city?
There's what now?
This ordinance being imposed across the whole city? The noise ordinance will be imposed across the city?
So we have a noise ordinance that applies throughout the city.
Right.
And currently in our LDRs, we have something that only applies in the industrial district. So we're moving that from the LDRs over into the area that applies across the city.
but it still applies just to the industrial zones. So they both already apply across the city. We're putting them in the same place, that now one document that applies across the whole city, depending on the zoning you're in. So it's really more of a cleanup than it is a change, but.
Okay, so the levels that you have industrials are going to be applied also to the residential?
No.
Different levels?
No. No.
Same level?
No, different levels. Industrial, residential have different levels. There's a table in the ordinance, different levels. And then there's rules about how much can pass, like from an industrial to a residential. There's rules about that, and that's all in the ordinance.
I understood it wrong, that's fine.
Yeah, that's right. Any others for the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion on this item by the commission?
Motion to approve ordinance 3422.
Second by the vice mayor, city clerk.
Commissioner Colodi,
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I called for the vote. I thought I had a hand up, or I thought I saw a hand up.
Basically, this is a bookkeeping type of thing. It will avoid us having to address certain issues as to who it applies to and who should get a waiver, so on and so forth. Fully support it.
Okay,
A comment?
go ahead.
I find it unwieldy and difficult that a industrial zoning adjacent to a residential zoning has to meet the decibel level of the residential zoning, is that correct?
No.
So were the existing, for example, the subject property we all know about, currently they can operate at 74 during the day. The receiving use, those residential properties could receive it at 74 during the day. Under this new cleanup, they now, the receiving properties now receive it at 65.
I could swear that I read that the receiving property has to only have what is in that zone, that any noise created outside cannot impinge upon the zoning that has a lower decibel, that the average has to be, or what's in the residential has to be at their level, not the level of the industrial.
Can you point to that in the ordinance? Because that's not how I read it at all. There's a receiving, do you have a?
Well, that's the question, I can't point to it, but.
I think you're saying it right. So the industrial use has to be cognizant of the receiving use, so the residential.
But it doesn't have to meet the residential's noise levels.
Difficult.
No, it doesn't have to meet the residential's, but it's just saying there is a limit on how much noise can be passed from an industrial to a residential. There is a limit on that. But the residential noise limit is very different than the industrial noise limit. But when the two are adjacent to each other, there is a limit on how much, within distances and everything else, how much can go from the industrial to the residential. But it's not that we hold the industrial to the residential standard. It's that because there's a residential near an industrial, it enhances the standard of the industrial, if I'm saying that correctly.
Okay, so it's not an aggregate, it just lowers the industrial output because it's next to residential.
Exactly.
The industrial is capped at what the industrial is capped is, whether it's right there or a billion miles out in the middle of nowhere. But when the industrial is next to a residential, then there becomes some rules on how much can be heard by the residential. So it's in favor of the quality of life of the residences near industrial areas, but acknowledging industrial has to be able to do business at a certain level. So
It's also, I got to mention, it's also concerning that we added assembly in our I-1 district, and that changes the dynamic as well, because assembly may be a party, a dance, a concert, and that changes the dynamic of the decibels. And am I correct?
You're concerned about a zoning change that was made in industrial by a separate ordinance?
In addition to the I-1 to add assemblies.
Which was done by a separate ordinance?
Yes. Yes, and the
Okay, so we can't do
unforeseen
anything
outcome.
about that separate
No, we
ordinance
can't.
right now?
We can't.
Okay.
It's an unforeseen, hopefully not circumstance that could happen.
Yeah.
Meaning.
But that's not before us tonight,
No,
right now.
But what is before us, and I don't want to get in my brain fog, you'll excuse me. I'm sorry, I'll just pass on that thought and vote.
Okay. If you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Colodi,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks,
No.
Mayor Owen.
Yes. Item is approved. Item 8, C, D, and E are related to one property on Oak Street. City Attorney, read those all together. Then we'll take separate motions on the items, or we're just going to kind of talk through them all at once because it's one property.
Ordinance number 3822, an ordinance annexing into the city of New Smyrna Beach, .14 plus or minus acres of property located on the east side of Oak Street between Washington Street and Mary Avenue, addressed as 401 Oak Street, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 3922, an ordinance of the city of New Smyrna Beach, amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .14 plus or minus acres of land located on the east side of Oak Street between Washington Street and Mary Avenue, addressed as 401 Oak Street, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4022, an ordinance of the city of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .4 plus or minus acres of property located on the east side of Oak Street between Washington Street and Mary Avenue, addressed as 401 Oak Street, from Volusia County R4A urban single-family residential airport overlay to city R2A single-family residential airport overlay zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay. Hang on. Call it up. All right. Bob, do you have much to say on this one?
This is just your average ISBA annexation, and we have come up with compatible future land uses and zoning that equal what they had in the county.
Okay, does any member of the commission have any question on any three of these items? Standard annexation. Any members of the public wish to comment on any three of these? I think they're public hearings, maybe not. Yeah, it's quasi-judicial public, yeah. Sure, on this annexation specifically? Okay, on 401 Oak Street? Wait till you get up to the mic so we can all hear.
Jess Romero, 708 South Cooper. So the city's going to annex 0.24, whatever it is, acres there to from the Volusia County, I believe it is, to the city.
Yep.
And be R2. Is that going to be sold out to the people? What's that property going to be used for in the future? Do we have a plan for that at all?
We don't own the property.
Right, but you're going to annex it to the city.
It's already in the city. We're just saying that they're going to pay us taxes and they're going to be subject to our
Is there a house
laws.
already on there? There's no house on there, is there?
I don't remember on this one specifically. Does anybody have it in front of them? This one?
No house.
There's no house on this one, no.
So whoever owns the property is going to be paying you guys taxes now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
And so we go through, there's a process where staff, it's all in the report, where they look at the current zoning, and if it's zoned for like one house, R1, we do the similar or as close to that as we can get. We don't have everything perfect, but we've got basically the same zoning as the county. So we bring it over exactly in the county, but now they interact with us. They can vote in our elections. They pay a little bit lower taxes because we're lower than the county. They're subject to our codes, et cetera. So it's actually a positive thing for the city in the long run. Yeah.
And they get city services.
And they get city services. They call the police, our police respond, et cetera. So, all right, any other questions on this item? Do I have a motion on item 3822?
Motion to approve ordinance 3822.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks,
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi,
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes. You almost made me vice mayor there for a
I
minute,
did.
didn't you? That's right, I've been calling you clerk all night, I guess. Now we're even. That's right. But hers is a promotion. I'm promoting her, she's demoting me. Do I have a motion on ordinance 3922?
So move.
Second.
City, Sharon?
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks,
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes. And do I have a motion on item 40-22?
Motion to approve ordinance 4022.
Second, thank you, City Clerk.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. All right, thank you. Next item up, Carrie, 3 items, again, standard annexation, so if you'll read all 3 of these together.
Ordinance number 4122, an ordinance annexing it to the city of New Smyrna Beach, .43 plus or minus acres of property located on the east side of Howard Avenue between Julia Street and Woodland Avenue, addressed as 187 Howard Avenue, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, provided for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4222, an ordinance of the city of New Smyrna Beach, amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .43 plus or minus acres of land located on the east side of Howard Avenue between Julia Street and Woodland Avenue, addressed as 187 Howard Avenue, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4322, an ordinance of the city of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .43 plus or minus acres of property located on the east side of Howard Avenue between Julia Street and Woodland Avenue, addressed as 187 Howard Avenue, from Volusia County R4A urban single-family residential airport overlay to city R2A single-family residential airport overlay zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay, Bob, anything on this one?
This is no different than the last application. It has the similar zoning and future land use. This property is also undeveloped, just like the previous one.
Okay. I want to add for the one gentleman's benefit, I mean, this is an area we've lovingly called for a while the hole in the donut. Let me talk to him for a second. Where there's an area within the heart of the city that our fire trucks drive right by, our police drive right by, our road crews and everybody drives right, they're right in the heart of the city, but yet they're not technically part of the city. They don't vote in our elections, they don't pay taxes for our services, so the rest of us are kind of carrying the burden for them. It's a positive for them. There's many positives I can go into, and it's a positive for us. So this is an initiative that has been, I don't know if anybody that actually disagrees with this initiative, moving forward. So this is something we've been working at for a while. You'll see these on agendas pretty routinely, onesie and twosies here. We actually waive the fee just to incentivize people to do this, because long term, we've got to fill in that hole in the donut. I've said it many times, no business, no private enterprise would design a service delivery system with the boundaries we've drawn for our city. They would never. I mean, UPS's mind would blow up if we showed them our service delivery boundaries. And when somebody calls 911, we have to figure out, are you here or are you here? Because if you're in that house, you're a sheriff. If you're in that house, it's a police department. That's crazy. So we're fixing that. So, all right. Any members of the public have any comments on 41, 42, or 43? Seeing none, do I have any commission comments? Do I have a motion on 41, 22? That was that. Do I have a second?
Second.
City Clerk.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. Do I have a motion on item 42-22?
Motion to approve ordinance 4222.
Second.
City Clerk.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk? Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. I'm a yes. We got one more, Jason. Hang on.
I thought we were doing these together. My fault.
No, it's three motions. So that was all 5 yeses, just for the record, in case anybody's unclear on that. We have one more, 43-22. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 4220, or 43.
43, yep.
4322.
Second.
City Clerk.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. Now you can go. Carry. 3 more, 44, 45, and 46-22. I'm going to go.
Ordinance number 4422, an ordinance annexing into the city of New Smyrna Beach 3.1 plus or minus acres of property located on the west side of South Glencoe Road, north of Glencoe Farms Road, addressed as 1717 South Glen Cove Road, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 4, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4522, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 3.1 plus or minus acres of land located on the west side of South Glen Cove Road, north of Glen Cove Farms Road, addressed as 1717 South Glen Cove Road, from Volusia County Rural to City Rural, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 4622, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 3.1 plus or minus acres of property located on the west side of South Glen Cove Road, north of Glen Cove Farms Road, addressed as 1717 South Glen Cove Road, from Volusia County A3A, Transitional Agriculture Airport Overlay, to City A3A, Transitional Agriculture Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Bob, anything special on this one?
The only difference with this one is occupied. There is a single-family house on this property.
Single-family house there already, all right. With that, this is the public, so any members of the public wish to comment on any three of these items? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion on ordinance 4422?
Motion to. Second.
Take the motion from Commissioner Clody, second from Commissioner Hartman. City Clerk?
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. Do I have a motion on ordinance 4522?
Motion to approve ordinance 4622.
45, I think we were on 4522.
Okay.
45.
45.
All right, do I have a second to approve 4522?
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. Now 46. Commissioner Hartman.
Motion to approve 4622.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. All right, all those are finished. Thank you all. Welcome to New Smyrna. Item 4722, City Attorney.
An ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 54 Offenses, Section 54-4, Sexual Offender Residency Restrictions, Exceptions, and Penalties to further restrict the temporary residences of sex offenders, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Staff report on this one. I have it as Chief Coffin. Chief Coffin. I think this is your report on the ordinance. I had you listed on it. 4722. All right.
Just
Yeah, go
briefly,
ahead.
there was a loophole that allowed sex offenders who couldn't live there permanently to vacation in a certain spot. So they could, they weren't allowed to live there permanently, but they could vacation there next to like parks and playgrounds and such. So this would tighten up that loophole to remove that ability.
Okay. And that's within state statutes. You'll see here that the staff report says it would implement the entire Florida statute 8470135. So, okay. Sorry about that, Chief. It's the public hearing. Any members of the public wish to comment on 4722? Nope. Seeing none. Do I have a motion on item 4722?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. City Clerk?
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. All right. Chief, I don't know who put your name on my script, but somebody did. Item 8M, 4822. City Attorney will read this a second time by title only.
Ordinance number 4822, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 11 site plan approval, Section 1103 approval process to amend the application requirements for fence permits, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay, Bob, you got a report on this one?
Yes, sir. So the proposed amendment to Article 11, Section 1103, Paragraph A, Subparagraph 1 and 2 are minor in nature. This minor amendment would allow for a property owner to have a boundary survey to be submitted to the permit office for a proposed fence without having to submit a full survey. The property boundary survey should be less in cost to the property owner, thus saving the property owner some cost in their permit. Staff recommendation is an approval, including the recommendation for the Planning and Zoning Board. And that'd be the summary of the staff report.
Okay, any questions for staff on this one from the commission? Seeing none, thank you, Bob. This is a public hearing. Any members of the public wish to comment on this ordinance 4822? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt 4822?
Motion to approve ordinance 4822.
Second.
City Clerk?
Discussion.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was ready for that.
All right.
I'm opposed to this. Yes, there's an expense in getting a survey. However, anybody who goes ahead, puts a fence in along a property line, bears the risk of getting it in the wrong place and ending up spending 10 times as much money trying to find out why they put their fence on somebody else's property. So I'm opposed to it. Also, being a licensed land surveyor, but not in this state, I realize how important they are.
Bob, I did have one question I meant to ask you, Colin, then I see I'll come to you. Where does this put us with other municipalities? Is it common to require a survey? Is it not common to require a survey? Is it kind of 50-50? Did y'all look at that at all? It's okay if you didn't.
Right, we didn't check other cities.
Okay.
I think we were just looking to try to see if we can save a little bit of cost to a property owner just trying to get a fence up and not delay for the period of time it takes right now to get full surveys, that maybe a boundary survey would be sufficient for the permit office to decide if it's a 4 foot, 6 foot, what's allowed.
So boundary survey, they come in, they find the 4 pins, and then they just kind of shoot the lines from the fence company, then says, yep, you can put the fence here. I'm not a survey, so full survey is they go in and look at the whole property? I mean,
Right, so we're still looking for a boundary survey from a surveyor. It's just not going to place where the house location in their pool or where their shed may be or other out
So
parcels.
the risk of putting it on someone else's property is pretty minimal. And I mean, is that, so I will look to you. I mean, you have expertise in this. Commissioner Colodi, if they have a boundary survey, what is the risk of them putting it on someone else's property? And they know where their house is, so.
Well, what it is that the cost between what we're asking for and the cost of preparing a complete survey, there's the same amount of work for the surveyor involved in it. So the cost differential would be really minimal.
Okay.
I don't know if I explained that clearly.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I understand what you said, but if we're requiring still a boundary survey, the risk I thought you highlighted, which is a fair one, is they put it on, they're a foot over the line, and then all of a sudden it becomes a legal brouhaha. If we're requiring a boundary survey, doesn't that minimize the risk of putting it over the line? And all we're not doing is requiring kind of the internal survey of the property?
Well, maybe I'm looking at it from a standpoint is they are now spending, let's say 80% of what they would spend for a full survey, and they're getting something that's not usable in the future. If they get a full boundary survey, it could be used for a mortgage, whatever.
Yeah.
I just think it's minimal savings for really no gain.
I got you. And to me, the property owner can make that decision. Kyle, do you have a comment?
Just to go back on this one, right now the surveyors are so booked up that if you wanted to have a full survey, and it's not as cheap as Commissioner Colodi, I mean, it's expensive to get the full survey. Now, for a fence, I mean, all you care is about the property line to make sure that they're not encroaching onto somebody else's property, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
Most of these properties, they do have a boundary survey already. So when we are requiring to get a full survey, it's taken them months to get it. And not only that, but the cost is so expensive comparing to the actual fence. So that's why we recommended this one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Bob, are properties normally required to have a survey on file or at their home or with the county or city anyway?
The problem with surveys is when property changes hands, if it's a cash purchase, they're not required to have a survey unless they request one. So a lot of cash purchases, they do not have one, or they have one that's very, very old.
Yeah, the
If it's a
requirement-
bank involved, they want one that's a certain amount of time, and they want everything showed on that survey if it's a mortgage involved.
Yeah, so Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no city or county requirement that you have a survey. Usually it's the bank or whoever's lending, title insurance, et cetera. But that doesn't mean, the property owner has no, if they just paid cash for the property, they may not have a survey on hand, and there's nothing legally says they have to. All right.
It's nice that we're trying to say, I just want to make
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
comment because it goes with a question. Nice that we're trying to save some money for people who want to put up a fence, not requiring the full survey, but do we run the risk of having people put a fence over their line? Is it?
Well, we're requiring
Very-
a boundary survey, so.
Right,
that's-
we're requiring a boundary survey from the surveyor, so he's basically going to either find the pins or whatever the legal description is
Okay.
based on that property, and they're just going to draw the lines and not draw any
I
infill
see. Okay.
structures.
I understand.
But then the property owner has the option, they can still have a full survey if they want to have one done.
Yep.
This would just be an option for them not to have to submit that.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item? Yes, come ahead.
My name's Jill Dempsey, 1519 North Peninsula Avenue. I wasn't planning on speaking on this, but it seems like, Mr. Colodi, I wasn't sure whether you, because the point that you made would have been a valid point if they were saying we don't need a survey. They weren't saying we don't need a survey. They were saying we need a boundary survey. I own a real estate company. Surveyors are backed up. I have dogs. If my fence falls down and I need a permit to put up more than, I think it's four sections of a fence, I need a permit. Not that it's ever inspected, but I still need a permit. You just need a boundary. Where does that fence go? So there's, if somebody has to provide a boundary survey, there's no more risk of a boundary survey of them putting the fence on the wrong side or not on the line than there is of a full survey. It just,
Okay,
the discrepancy just doesn't exist.
thank you. Any others for public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion on item 4822?
So moved. Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, City Clerk.
So for clarification, Commissioner Hartman made the motion and Vice Mayor McGurk seconded.
No.
No,
I
the
made
other way.
motion
Yeah.
and
The first time around.
Oh, did we already have a motion on this item?
Yes.
All right, my apologies. then. Stick with that motion. I couldn't remember.
Okay.
Sharon's keeping us straight.
I know, that's right. Good thing we have you. Okay.
Commission-
So hang on, just so I want to make sure we're all clear. So we had a motion on the table. It was who?
my motion.
Commissioner
Hartman's
motion.
McGurk
Commissioner McGurk seconded. That motion is for approval, so yes vote approves as is, as presented by staff, and no vote declines. With that, everybody clear? Okay, City Clerk.
Commissioner Sacks.
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi.
No.
Commissioner Hartman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk.
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes. Thank you, Sharon. I was sitting there thinking, did I get a motion on this or not? We went through so many there very quickly. All right, item 8N, we move to October 16th? 11th. 8N, October 11th. If you were here for that item, you can come back on October 11th. Okay, there it is. 5222, City Attorney.
Ordinance number 5222, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach approving the Third Amendment to the Regency Walmart Planned Unit Development Master Development Agreement to revise the conceptual development plan, providing for a public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay. Jeff, you have a report on this? So the way this is going to go, just so everybody's clear, we're going to hear from the city. We'll have questions of Jeff if we have any. We'll then hear from the applicant. I think they're here. They have their time. It is a public hearing. We'll hear from the public if they have anything. The applicant will have a chance to respond to that and the city, and then we'll kind of wrap it all up. So that's the lay of the land. Jeff.
Thank you. This is the third amendment that's been requested to the Regency Walmart PUD MDA. It specifically swaps out the conceptual development plan to show what is already a permitted use. When this was approved, I think it was in 2011, the original PUD agreement for this area, this 47-acre area, it allowed for multifamily apartments. But the plan that was attached to that at that time did not show any apartments on the plan. It showed lots 7 and 8 where these apartments are proposed. Those would be 140,000 square feet retail big box and a 12,000 square foot smaller kind of retail strip center that was mandated by the MDA to be have a Main Street appearance. And the applicants approached us towards the last part of last year, submitted in January. There's been some back and forth. They've since added Walmart as a participant in the MDA as a signee. So they're agreeable to the process. Again, this is already a permitted use of multifamily apartments. It just wasn't shown on the plan. And between the applicant's discussions with us and his agreeability to that, we just found that it exceeded what was stated in the MDA to be exceeding the minor amendment, which would be reshaping, combining, and or making minor adjustments to the building footprints. In this case, the two structures that I had told you about, the retail structures, are proposed now to be 5 4-story buildings containing a total of 279 units. It's all in conformance with what's permitted in the PUD currently, doesn't exceed the density, doesn't exceed the height. And the questions that we had, the discussions are almost site plan questions now at this point in terms of the access to the site, how many there will be, and how the circulation will go through the site. They've addressed that to a certain degree, and our traffic engineer has been requested to also evaluate the site for that, and we'll be coming back during the site plan process to discuss that in much more detail. Right now, the actual traffic impact is less than the retail would be, as you would expect. So in terms of this, it's not really a rezoning as much as it is change in use, but it's significantly less trips. I think it's a reduction in 5,800 daily trips. So they've also added standards and elevations for the multifamily apartment buildings, which were not provided before, and they're available here to answer any questions, as am I.
Okay. I do have a couple, and then we'll open it up for the commission for questions of staff. I want to go back to something you said. Don't let me put words in your mouth, but I want to make sure I heard you correctly. The proposed use tonight is a permitted use.
Yes.
Has been since 2011 or whenever that was, right?
Right.
Okay. So we're not granting them anything tonight. Or this act wouldn't be granting them anything tonight that they haven't been allowed to do since 2011.
No, it's just clarifying it because there was really no standards in place, and the plan itself, when they approached us, they were amenable to actually changing the plan and going through this amendment process, and we thought it would be a good idea to alert the commission to this rather than this being a staff's decision.
Yeah,
and
no,
all of a sudden there's
I get it. I mean, it's a big project, so I mean, I get it from a staff standpoint, but for the general public's benefit, mainly is why I'm doing this, because we get a lot of, we hear a lot, and there's a lot of people that don't understand, and they think, well, hey, why do they approve this? Why is the city building it? Which we don't own any of this property. We're not building anything. We haven't built something since, we didn't even build this building. We don't build stuff very often. So it's a permitted use since 2011.
Yep.
They're meeting the density requirements that were allowed at the time.
Yes.
We're not changing that. We're not granting them any additional density, any additional units or anything else.
The density requirements required at that time, and it's still in conformance
Still what
with
it is
the present
today.
day, yes.
They're meeting their height requirement. They're not asking for any variance or anything on the height.
Right.
And they're generating less trips than what had previously been proposed or contemplated, or other uses that were also permitted uses on the property.
Right, significantly.
Obviously, let's be very clear, I'm not a moron. They're generating more trips than an empty lot. We all know that.
Oh, yeah.
But an empty lot is not what, is more, they have more permitted use than an empty lot. They have this as a permitted use. So my question for city attorney would be to change that permitted use. If the city were to try to say, hey, we want to take away that permitted use, what does that process look like? How can we do that?
Not without a lawsuit. I mean, unless they just voluntarily said.
I'm not even talking about them specifically. I'm just saying in general, we can't change permitted uses. People have vested property rights, and this is an example of that.
Yes.
Okay. So again, this is me talking more to the public. This is just like you buy a piece of dirt, and on that you have the rights, if it's zoned R1, you have the rights to build a single-family house. There are some rules. It has to be a certain size. It has to look a certain way, meet certain specs. Has to be certain setbacks from property lines. There are rules. That's a permitting process. That's what we're going through now since it's such a big project. But that's an allowable use. If you wanted to put a pool in your backyard, you go pull a permit. That's what we mean when we say the words permitted use. It's allowable for them to basically go pull a permit and start the construction. They haven't asked us for any favors. They haven't asked us for any variances, any gives, any takes. They're not asking us really for anything other than just to say, hey, do we all agree that what we just put in front of you is exactly what is agreeable to what was a permitted use? Basically, it'd be like if I wanted to build a pool in my backyard, I go to the building department and I say, hey, here's my plans. They say, yep, that meets all the allowable things. You're good to go. Here's your permit. That's what's happening tonight. That's my stump speech for the general public. Any other questions or comments for staff on this item? We have to hear from the applicant and the public too, but any other things for staff?
Yes, question.
Go ahead.
Jeff, has the applicant provided for ingress and egress to in and out in this concept?
The connections to the proposed site will be through the existing Walmart parking lot, the same as what was on the plan for the retail area that would have been in that same location.
Using the only traffic light there currently, which is to the west of Walmart?
Yeah, that's still the same traffic signal for that western access and also the existing eastern access that is right in, right out only.
Because would you agree that would FDOT approve putting a traffic light right next to the interchange at the underpass where there is currently a light?
I can't speculate on that. I know that right now the future site of Williamson is proposed immediately west of the existing light, and that one is actually closer, I think, than what their ideal spacing is. So I don't anticipate that they would be look favorable on a third light at the existing driveway.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay.
A few quick questions. Design standards. What are they? I know that's the activity center, right?
Yes, it is.
So what kind of design standards do we have in place right now, or are they working with?
Well, that's why the existing MDA has elevations provided for what was built, but all that is for the Walmart building, which was built in accordance with the elevations provided at that time when it was approved in 2011. We didn't have anything in place in the document for any multifamily buildings, so that's why we kind of went back and forth with them. They've been very agreeable to providing what we asked, and they provided elevations of the multifamily buildings. They were reviewed by staff. We had suggestions to make them more compatible with the city's architectural design standards and what's in the activity center. Unfortunately, the activity center is kind of lacking in details for multifamily. Most of the architectural standards in there were oriented towards commercial.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Mayor. For now.
All right, if no other questions of staff, thank you. We'll hear from the applicant.
Good evening. For the record, Michael Woods with Cobb Cole, 231 North Woodland Boulevard in DeLand, here today on behalf of the applicant, and very, very happy to be before all of you tonight to discuss this project. As Jeff made allusion to, we first started our pre-application meeting with the city back in November of 2021 with an application in January. And really, I think to the mayor's question, there was a question at that time, do we need to go through the full amendment process? There is language within the MDA that allows for an administrative modification. We weren't talking about any modifications to the intensity or the use. It was solely the conceptual plan. I'll show you the old one and what the new one is. And the discussion at that point was, well, that's not a big ask. Let's go ahead and do that. Now, we've taken a little bit more time, and that's okay too, because what we've been able to do during this process, and staff's been very helpful, as we worked out the development standards, for instance, and we'll talk a little about where those came from. We've been able to kind of proceed along very far within like the site plan process. So with this approval getting, tonight, we are well along on the site plan review as well, incorporating changes and concerns, and basically issue proofing or testing what our concept is and our proposed site plan to make sure there aren't any other unanticipated issues or having to come back before you for other kind of relief. As the mayor mentioned, and it was our intent, we are not here to ask for anything above and beyond what was already in place. From the frame of reference, you're familiar with the location, big old tract of land there that we'll be bringing our apartments to. And then this is the overall conceptual layout. If you read through the staff report, there was a comment regarding a secondary access point internal on the site. It's pretty easy to see in this illustration. If you see the little brown spot on the spine road coming in midway through, there's already a curb cut provided for on the spine road, and we are agreeable to providing for that as that secondary access point throughout the project. We just, as I think I alluded to at the first reading before you, we wanted to make sure there was no other possible issues that popped up before we go back and Walmart signs off on everything. But that's at staff's request, and we are agreeable to that. It'll be finalized at the site plan process, but we have no objections to that. I won't belabor the history of the project other than to say that yes, in fact, the decision for the use and the intensity was set in 2011, and a little bit of the history for the different parcels and projects there. The challenge, again, when the MDA was approved, because if you'll recall, there was a much larger MDA that dealt with the 4 quadrants, and then this kind of got carved out. So you do have a lot of good guidance with the design guidebook. Staff gave that to us like day one for our consideration, but that's really configured and focused more on your office and retail. And so we didn't think that a apartment complex should match and meet up the design elements of the Walmart. So one of the things that we did work with, yes, you had the elevations in place, but even before we had those elevations finalized, because that would typically be done later on in the process, we in fact provided some additional exhibits to provide for design standards that those elevations then meet. And that was done with the input and feedback from city staff. And so very appreciative that that got us through as quickly as they did. And then again, the main point to coming before you tonight was we didn't want you to be surprised by seeing an apartment complex coming out of the ground. This is the old concept plan. As you can kind of see, this is what was recorded in 2011 and obviously considered as a likely use a secondary big box store of some kind that would be going in there. So this is the only real exhibit that came in with the MDA back in 2011, but for the architectural elevations for the Walmart and those parcels. And so the goal for this request was simply to slip sheet that with what our new concept plan is. And again, that just shows the configuration. Some of the things that we worked through in this process and where we took advantage of this process and really helped us out, working through with Kenny Ho at Utilities Commission, verifying where the utilities are located, the relocation of those, ironing out that needs to be done. That exercise was done. It would have to be done anyway. It would typically be done farther on in the site plan process, but we did it now, and it was able to be beneficial to everybody with how we kind of reconfigured locations of structures and the like. Let's see. So I spoke about the drive aisle reference and the design standards reference that we have in there. one of the reasons, and I think it's important to kind of why we're coming to this location, is, well, first and foremost, wanting to come to New Smyrna Beach. It's a very desirable location. There is definitely a need for apartments in here, but in this location in particular, obviously the proximity to the interstate is very beneficial as well. The Walmart presence is beneficial in that there's grocery compatibility there. So when you're dealing with an apartment complex of this nature, having that walkability, whether it's a Publix, a Walmart, a Kroger, what have you, that's really beneficial. But I would tell you that the number one selling point as to why this project was so attractive to Catalyst was at the time when they were going under contract, the presumption that it was fully entitled and they could go right to site plan. And the reason why I say that is not because we've taken some additional time to figure this out, but it was, you didn't have to go through a land use amendment. You didn't have to go through a rezoning. And I don't need to tell anyone at this dais the challenges that would be if we were finding another location somewhere in the city to come bring in a higher density project. So that this was basically as close to turnkey ready as possible was a huge, huge selling point for us to be able to incorporate our project and come to this location. And as you will see, I may have alluded at the first meeting, the initial concept for the rendering was more of a more clean, modern kind of vibe. Staff really helped direct us to this coastal vernacular, is I believe the term we're utilizing in the DA. But it will be a 4-story location, or 4-story structures throughout the process. Gave us some guidance on the color standards and the materials, typical floor plan. And then from the amenities side of things, this is our concept for the clubhouse exterior, and then the interior end. This is, just to be very clear, this is to be market and recognizing New Smyrna Beach's desirability at market rate. This is not affordable housing. You know, I know there's been a lot of conversation about affordable housing as of late. This project kind of came in well before that was even on the radar. And I think there's a good conversation to have about affordable housing in general and how to approach it. I know there's been a lot of intergovernmental coordination with the county and some of the other programs, and I saw some of the conversation even earlier on the agenda with another project. But this one is specifically coming in to deliver on a needed supply for the multifamily, but to come in on a high end. And then this is the concept for the amenities to be provided on the process, and then a layout of the build out on the interior there. Fitness center obviously is contemplated as well, but kind of an all-in-one service there for the residents on the property. The only other points I want to kind of make sure we touch upon, we did address and have the second access is fine. Trip generation, again, if you have any questions on that, it'll still go through the analysis at site plan. And yes, you're right, a vacant lot generates no traffic, but this is a substantial reduction on the trip generation. And we can talk a little bit about the future of that interchange as well, but that is well into consideration when dealing with the state and the county on the access and the designs for that. We're good with the landscape, and then, yeah, we talked about the affordable housing and just the idea for the market. They're very excited to come here. This has been a project that they've been working very, very hard on. We're very happy to be here tonight, but they are eager to come to your community. If you have any questions, I'm here. We have representatives from the company as well as from Parker Mitchenberg's office on any engineering. But it's been a long while since I had basically a slip sheet project to have to come in and just slip one piece of paper for another. And I think this is a pretty good project and look forward to any questions you may have.
Okay. I just had a couple. I'll start off with one, then we'll come to the commission. Do you have any idea at this point, I'm sure they've run some numbers, what kind of price point these apartments would be at? I know you've got different, you know, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, et cetera, but where are you thinking like starting price point on these from a leasing standpoint?
My name is George Sardinas, and I'm a partner with Catalyst Development Partners.
Thank you.
Price point will be we'll have 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units priced from $1,400 to closer to $2,000. $1,400 for the 1 bedrooms up to $2,000 for the 3 bedroom units.
Okay. How does that compare? I don't know if you know from your market research, or I could pull it up, or somebody else may know on the dais, but how does that compare to like the Beacon and then maybe some of the other apartment assets we have, like even Limestone Ranch? Like where is that in the pricing schema?
Kind of right at par with.
Right at par with Beacon?
Yes.
Okay. Because my concern, I think this is a fine project. I think you all, this looks good. If this is what's built, I think it'll be fantastic. My concern I've expressed, I mean, if you were coming to us and this were zoned for, residential, R1, and you were asking to do this, yeah, it'd be a hard stop for me, because there's other issues that come with, these projects that we have concerns about. My biggest, though, is, anytime you get a high density of people like that, or higher density people, just making sure it remains as nice as possible. I just think that's long-term what we're looking for at that site and in general. So yeah, I mean, what I've seen here, if that's the amenity level that's delivered, the club, the swimming, et cetera, I think that's going to be good. And again, it's a permitted use. So I know kind of the position where you're at standing in front of us today. And, I think the vernacular does fit in well with New Smyrna for what we're at. I mean, honestly, I wish you would buy that gas station right out in front of you and do some demo or upgrade work on that. I'd be totally in support of that. So anyway.
Well, and if I could add on
Sure.
to that, Mr. Mayor, that's a subject matter with respect to kind of build quality that I've seen for other jurisdictions. And I think oftentimes we have a conversation, and it's less so on the single-family residential, although you have that with architectural deviation. But even in like a commercial standpoint, we focus a little bit more on the amenity and like peak and gable and whatnot. When I think the reality is over time is you're concerned about not just the Florida Building Code, which deals with the materials, but the design so that it can age properly, right? And I think, what frustrates me sometimes is you go through and you'll have like a wall of stucco at a commercial center, and then it looks good on day one, but it doesn't consider, drip lines, and then you get the kind of mildew and mold. If there's a opportunity here with New Smyrna, because I think you guys have some you're forward thinking in what you're looking for the product, and New Smyrna Beach is the beachfront for the Metro Orlando area. Getting into that kind of level of detail, I don't know if that's an LDR standard or what, but to be able to provide and say, this is how we want this to be able to age through, or the materials. I mean, I think that's a fair conversation to be having as you move forward. And again, most of what our decision-making process here was guided by staff in anticipation of concerns like that. So.
Okay. Any other comments or questions of the applicant? Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I've got a lot.
Okay.
First thing I want to say is, don't take it personal.
Okay.
So, if you didn't have the use at that location, I wouldn't be approving it. I don't think it's a good location for this. I'm disappointed, which you guys have nothing to do with the overall development of that area. It looks terrible. The functionality and traffic flow is terrible. And inside the development, on the side road, Williamson, or whatever you want to call it, the ingress, the egress, it's all terrible. Particularly, I'm irritated that we keep getting promised good projects, and there's always a sleight of hand. I can't tell you this is the market demographic that I want you to hit. You know that, I know that, so you get to do whatever you want. But I'll tell you, at least I feel we've been burned a number of times. I want this to be a good project. I will tell you that I would never approve this because I don't believe it's a good location for this. True story, when the development agreement was being discussed, and I was not on any boards, not on the commission, I had a planner who's no longer here tell me that his goal was to have apartments and condos on top of the actual Walmart. So a lot of planners have, and that's a true story. So I look at this apartment complex and I don't see how it fits there. I don't, but it's gonna go there. And I'm gonna ask of you to build us a good quality project. The Beacon, they all start good. The Beacon, the jury's still out on. I was told 55-plus community, not a 55-plus community. As soon as it started getting built and they started advertising guys playing volleyball on the sign, you know, on the signs and this stuff, you know, I'm not gonna get into affordable housing because that's an A to Z discussion that we will never come to any kind of understanding or agreement on. The design standards I expect to be fantastic. The quality of the development. I can tell you what I don't like. I don't like Newport Sound, which came in, and somehow when you come in the entrance and you have the office area and the clubhouse, it looks pretty nice. And as soon as you get past that, there's nothing. There's no real landscaping. And apparently, as I was told, I can't confirm it, that back then, at least for that project, mulch was considered part of landscaping. So they put so there's a lot of problems in the past this community has had. We have good intentions. We want good projects. I'm not against projects, but I want good quality projects. So you're gonna come in, you have the use. I can't stop that. But what I'm gonna ask you is to work with us and give us a good quality project. So lots of nice landscaping, not just around the clubhouse. Good quality design, good quality materials, and good intentions. I don't know how you're gonna deal with the traffic issue. Ingress, egress, just moving around that Walmart parking lot. It's a total disaster. Nothing flows right. You're constantly driving. You're turning. You think you're getting out. You're not. So unless you're very experienced in it, it's a mess. That side road already, Williamson, I guess, when it connects, is already backed up. A lot of issues. So I want this to be an asset to that quadrant. And I want that to be something that then is a good enough asset so any new development that comes in hits that mark. And this has nothing to do with what you're doing, but I got a quick question. Where was the property purchased by what's the restaurant I'm thinking of that came in, wanted everything? Cracker Barrel. Are they gone? Have you bought them out? Because in this project, I don't see where their property would be.
So the Cracker Barrel would be, if you know where the gas station is, the gas station in question, just to the east of that lower level there. It's in the bottom right corner.
I thought it looked like you had parking spaces in that.
No, that's showing, I think, their conceptual or the layout for where they were going to go.
Okay.
Our project is north of that.
I thought that would, because I see parking spaces there in that, right?
So, not to interrupt you, so if I see like so I'm looking on the
dark gray
the
shading.
right-hand side of this, kind of right here.
Yes, that's your Cracker Barrel location right there. And then our location is this parcel right here. We're two parcels.
Okay, but in this project, it's a parking lot. It looks like it has parking spaces. Okay, and that has nothing to do with you per se. Appreciate you humoring me on that.
No, and I think the concerns that you raised are one of the reasons why the staff was adamant to have the conversation with us ahead of time, so there was no surprises. You know, we're not surprised to hear those comments from you, and I think we've tried to do what we can within the allowable permitted uses to try to meet those intentions.
Appreciate you listening.
Commissioner Hartman, any comments or questions?
I'm good.
On this side, any comments or questions? I saw his hand first, and I'll come to you.
Well, I think it's a good project, and I look forward to it being built. The days of the 400,000 square foot shopping center are over. That's why we're going to get a hospital instead of another 200,000 square feet to the east of 95. The Term Activity Center, you try to keep all your uses together, different uses in one place, cut down the vehicle traffic. I have spoke with you. I make that clear. I raised a couple issues. One has to do with the pond next to Route 95. I was not here when it was approved. I don't know if there's any wetlands there. I would like to see you provide some information on that.
Sure.
We revised our wetlands ordinance, which probably wouldn't apply to you anyhow because you had an existing PUD. One thing I do want to say is that I know a question arose as to whether you actually had to change your conceptual plan. I agree that that's a very important step that you're taking now. It may cost you a little time, but like you said, it all works out. The public expected to see a Walmart along with more retail there. And I wouldn't look forward to the day when you started putting your apartment buildings up and everybody came in and said, you know, where's Trader Joe's? So I think that's a very important step. I've looked at it. I see nothing wrong with it. I wonder how, if Cracker Barrel ever gets built, how you're going to control the parking on that site, because they often need more parking than the ordinances call for. But that will be up to you. Once again, I do want to see a nice development. We have in the past looked at PUDs and said they're looking for a change for their benefit, which would help the town out. But is there anything else we could look forward to asking for on this site, whether it be street improvements or access improvements? But I don't think that's even necessary with your reduction in number of traffic. So assuming you get approved, I wish you luck.
Thank you. And to respond to your question on the wetlands, let me pull up an aerial photo here just to clarify. Going in the wrong direction. So if you look here on the northern part, north of our property is the DOT pond. That was constructed prior to 2005. And at that time, this entire property, when it was undeveloped, there was no there's no anything here. This pond gets constructed, the first sign that pops up on Google Earth was about 2012, concurrent with the development of the overall Walmart. So that, though it's got a nice meandering kind of boundary there, that is in fact a man-made pond and not wetlands. So we're good to go with that.
That issue has appeared on other properties as to whether dug ponds have transitioned into more of a natural state that we want to protect. So I'm sure you will take very good care of that boundary. It's less than we want to recommend to have, but it can be treated and dealt with. So,
thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, forgive me, I'm feeling a bit under the weather, but did I hear correctly? You said it was an upscale or high-end project?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're not going for an affordable housing product here. The demand is recognizing New Smyrna Beach is a destination for people to move to, and there's a demand for the product.
Just my personal feelings, as usual. The location I find is troubling because you're sitting right next to a highway that is very noisy, and a lot of fumes are generated. And so I see you want to build a high-end project there. Are you planning on mitigating for any of the noise?
Yeah, so as part of the overall project, and originally contemplated even with the retail, there is a substantial buffering along the eastern property line there for the project with trees, I think both on the east side and west side of the ponds, but there was a specific focus in that. That was some of the stuff we ironed out with Jeff and the planning staff. So yes.
Yes, and I realize, you know, this activity center has been around, gosh, 20 years maybe. And so we look at a conceptual plan now for apartments in a very dense and congested area, and I'm basically having to approve a conceptual plan, which hopefully we'll all admit is just a concept. you're asserting that the concept will only have minor changes, but we don't know what it's going to look like.
You can be very confident in this case, and your point's well taken. In any other kind of PD process, the conceptual plan ought to be a bubble plan. And that's part of the argument that we made to maybe not have to come before you to change the concept plan. But in this particular case, this has been gone through the wash and rinse cycle multiple times with staff. You can be very confident that what's been proposed and what's now attached to the concept plan, that's exactly what Parker Mitchenberg is going to submit to get going underway and get your site plan going. That's going to meet, we're very far along on the site plan process thus far.
I understand that also through no fault of yours, you guys bought the property, but it does abut a water retention area, which concerns me. We are going to heavily develop this 4-quadrant area, so it's just a comment to share with everybody. It's just a troubling thought to see apartments at such a very dense area. But I've seen them along the highway, apartments next to malls, so it's not unusual, but it's still a bit troubling for me as a commissioner and the quality of life for the people who live there, who will live there. Just a comment. Thank you. Listening.
So last thing, then we'll hear from the public, and then we'll have you all back. So I agree, and you and I had the similar conversation. I mean, my concern is Walmart's, not disparaging Walmart, I shop there occasionally, Walmart's age fairly poorly. Just as an entity, as a building, they age poorly. Meaning you look up 20 years from now, it's going to look dated. They don't invest in their infrastructure. They don't, in fact, they usually just end up abandoning and going and building a new one and leaving that Walmart behind to become the next layer down of retail, and then it kind of keeps iterating down. So, if I were drawing this today and I were approving all of this based on today and what we know, I don't think that, I like what I see here, but that's my concern, is that you put that product next to the Walmart. I mean, that's a business decision for you all, but to Commissioner McGurk's, or Vice Mayor McGurk's point is, we've been down this road a lot. Now, again, please don't take it personal, I'm not disparaging you. I'm giving you our life experiences here, and hoping you'll do something different. I'm going to challenge staff in a minute on something, but the concern is that all of a sudden we show up at a ribbon cutting and we're like, hey, wait a minute, where's that clubhouse? Where's that swimming pool? Where's all those nice things? And it's like, this is a cheaply built facility, or 20 years from now it hasn't been invested in, it hasn't been maintained, it's sold multiple times, it's now held by some equity group. And it's allowed to degrade with Walmart. And the problem is that statistically speaking, that then becomes a problem for staff. It becomes a problem for our staff, our police staff, other staff. Like if you look at our call volume, that's where we get call volume. That's just the data. So that's my real worry, and I agree with what Vice Mayor said. Like that, it seems incongruous with the location. The product that I just saw seems incongruous with the location. I don't know that I would want to turn right. How do you give instructions to the girl you just met in the club? Hey, go to the abandoned gas station. No, it's actually open. It's not abandoned, but it looks abandoned. Go to that. Hang a right, and my apartment's back there. Like, it's next to the Walmart. Like I don't. So I don't love that. But it's a permitted use, and that's your business. And so it's just like, and to all the people that are going to go postal next door and say, well, hey, the city could have denied it. Well, come to us and give us the right to build on your property. Let us demolish your house. Let us take down your house, because I guarantee at some point somebody was frustrated that something went on your property as well. And that's kind of the spot we're in. I do think, my question for staff, or my challenge for staff, is the ingress, egress. I mean, everyone's right. That is already a little bit of a headache out there, just with what it is. Where does that layer in? I know they're not accountable. They pay impact fees, and then they kind of punts it to us and says, okay, you go solve the problem. We paid our impact fees. When do we do that? When does this when should we be looking at a plan? I don't know, because you can't put another light where the gas station is. Is it expanding the other intersection? Like, how does that all come together? When is that in the process? And
I think what's going to make it even more interesting is with county and DOT is moving Williamson out to the west.
Yeah.
And this traffic light is supposed to be actually removed from there. So when they go through the site plan, I think at some point, even if before they went, I wanted to discuss that with either Walmart or whoever is developing. They need to provide like a service road out to the new traffic light. So, I mean, that's a discussion that we need to have.
out to the new Williamson traffic light, not
Yes.
even the existing traffic light. As it is, though, they're still cutting, I mean, where are these people leaving here? I mean, when I go to Walmart, if I park down by the garden center, and when I leave, I go all the way in front, cutting across a bunch of pedestrians, very careful, but you're cutting through and then to get to the light, because the light's over there. I don't go out at the gas station and try to cut across the lanes of traffic and hang the U-turn. So, you know, again, I don't know if we're gonna solve it tonight, but that's, if all of that apartment traffic, if we've got, you know, if all of that traffic is cutting across in front of Walmart, we're gonna have a pedestrian problem. We're gonna create other problems. So I think we gotta, via the site plan process with staff, you gotta figure out some way to push it. Maybe this traffic gets pushed out and has to go out and be a right-hand turn out there by the McDonald's, but I don't know if that's any safer. I'm not a traffic engineer, but it just feels like an issue waiting to happen. And again, I know you guys, you know, I'm a finance guy by trade, so I know this is financially driven in some senses, but we want people to be safe and long-term success of the city, so.
I think, Mayor, regardless of where they go, I think they will have a traffic issue there. I mean, I was there this Saturday.
Yeah.
And even if you go with the gas station and McDonald's, it's still an issue because then you have to come out. And if you have to go east, you have to make the U-turn.
So my question for Carrie is, sorry to put you on the spot here, my question for you is this enough? So again, I use my simplistic brain here. As an average citizen, I can build a house and I can put a pool in my backyard and I can pull a permit for that. Those are my land rights. But is there enough here to say, wait a minute, it also feels really unproductive, I guess I would say, to approve something when we can sit here and almost all agree, yeah, no, there's probably going to be an issue. Like, how do we, just because thought it was the right idea 10 years ago, why am I now having to approve it without being able to address that?
So we would need Jeff Gove to come up here and talk to us about traffic issues. So, you know, you guys are sitting up here as the judge.
I know, yeah.
So the evidence needs to come from down here, so.
Okay. So you said you have traffic engineers that are here?
Actually, LTG is not here tonight,
sorry.
but they did the zoning level analysis, and the focus at that level should be two things, right? So the impact of the overall network, and that's that conversation that, you know, what trip generation was contemplated for the property.
Yeah, that's
will
like
be
volume,
less,
though. I mean,
right?
that's volume, not like on-site safety.
Right, and
Yeah.
so then you have the on-site, which is a kind of a unique element on this, because typically when you'd go for like a site plan, that's more the analysis of the safe access to the road network, right, through your use permits that you pull either with the state or with the county. And that obviously does happen with the site plan. One of the comments coming from our traffic engineer and from the city's traffic engineering review is what generated the requirement for that secondary access point to our parcel. And again, just to kind of frame of reference, connecting into basically in that vicinity there where there's an existing curb cut, and then for the traffic flow. But you are right. So you've got the out parcels, and I don't want to point Commissioner Hartman in the eye with the laser. I'm sorry, sir. You're right. You'll be bringing traffic down along to this boundary to get out to the property.
No, they don't even go to that boundary. The lights, well, I guess you can go that boundary, but that one's a little bit cut up sometimes. I always go to that one. This one, getting out to that one is tough, actually.
Well, and I think, well.
Maybe maybe you go to that one, I guess.
Yeah. So, you're right. You're talking about kind of site constraints and probably traffic control elements in there from a speed perspective. But again, this overall project was contemplating one of these times one over there.
I know.
So the dynamic hasn't changed with what we're kind of proposing. But yes, we will be going through that process to ensure that it's a safe measured approach. We're
Safe is one thing, functional is another.
Yeah, they're both elements, yeah.
You know, we already, you back up past that first cut over to people, for people to get in. Back
Yeah.
up all the way, so that backs up, going straight to the light. And then from east to west, that little section backs up and everybody fights to get in. People
Yeah.
fight to get in, and other people fight, I'm here.
Yeah, that's why I always go all the way to in front of the store and come out way
Yeah.
back by the fire station, because otherwise you're kind of teed up there and it's like, oh, are you gonna let me in or you not? And then, you know, so I just always go there and just get in the back of the line.
The question is, how far back is that gonna back up? And I know that developments in the past, the county is just now starting to change. You know, they like one big ingress egress, so they got away from multiple points. And now they're
they're going
realizing
back.
what a big mistake that was. So, you know, but you're stuck with all that development. So anyway.
No, I mean, your point's well taken, but that's again, that's what the process provides for, is here, pin down the zoning, allows them to finalize, and then they move forward at the site plan, and that's good, bad, or indifferent, that's the process that is available to us, and we follow through with it.
Okay. All right, this is a public hearing, so let's hear, if anybody in the public that's here has a comment on this item specifically, come ahead, please. And so just like we've done with them, just address your comments through the commission only.
Oh, sure.
We'll respond to those, and then we'll go from there. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you know how long from the time groundbreaking would start, how long that project would take?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just if you want to get all your questions, because they're going to respond at the end of all these comments.
Okay.
So he's taking notes with me.
I also know that, again, if this project goes on further, or it seems to be, are the apartments going to be built first, and then maybe someday the clubhouse will be done, and or perhaps the other things, or are they all going to be completed before anyone moves in? Because you don't want somebody to move in and then be promised this or that again.
Yeah. You were here for Venetian Bay.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a point. Also, is there a security in this development as far as security gates? People will have to have a code to get in to avoid any, riffraff to come in there, and as people are living in there and trying to have a normal life. That are just three things that I wanted to know.
All right, thank you. Any other members of the public? Yes, I saw you coming.
I spoke at the planning and zoning meeting about this project here, and my concerns, as you already discussed, was the egress out of here. Because Exxon is the one you're gonna go in, and you only have one entrance to this complex right now. Maybe you'll have two. But now, looking at it more and more, and I also mentioned one thing, is that the building that is gonna be right there, it's close proximity to 985. I don't know how far it is, but to me, it looks kind of close. The gentleman said it was within boundaries. My concern is that a vehicle traveling 70 miles an hour gets hit. How far is it gonna fly off of that road there?
Yeah.
Well, it can hit a building. Is it possible? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll
I think
leave that at the
physics
main.
would tell us it'd have to be.
All right, so now,
If they're going that fast,
my second concern is safety. As the lady said about safety, have a gate, it's a great idea, but the chief already mentioned at the budget meeting that our officers are overtasked right now. They have a lot of calls going out every day. They're the highest between the land, Port Orange, Ormond Beach, and us, we're the highest per officer. Now, you add another 282 units, on the average, you're gonna have 2 people per unit, that's 600 people in there. That's 600 more cars you're gonna have in there, more traffic. You're gonna add into there. Then you're gonna have the ingress into the process there, into there, and also fire department. Can they get in? Can they get in quickly? You're gonna have blockades. So my concern is mainly safety for the ones that are there. And plus, the stress you're gonna put on the city for us, for our water, utilities, and our officers, first responders. I mentioned to you before, you already got 4,000 more coming up the line here. I know you guys are hands are tied because of the MDA, and I read it. It sucks. I read the MDA. It's not a good thing to read, but I didn't like what I saw in there. But you guys don't have much of, but you change things. I hope. You can negotiate things here. One thing is they can give security for 2 years, for example, private security in there for 2 years, and to have in writing that they're going to do the clubhouse at per standards before they come to you and say, like, we don't have a Venetian Bay you had last time. When they say you're going to have a conference center, it's not really a conference center. So something has to be in writing for that to happen. That's my comment.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other members of the public on this item? Seeing none, applicant, if you had any responses. The one thing I would say, actually, before you go there, just on behalf of the city, the points you raised, sir, about the impacts for police and fire, that's literally the notion of impact fees. That's what they're meant to cover. That's why every property, your house, my house, this project, they all pay a very scientifically calculated impact fee, which is meant to cover the existing infrastructure costs or infrastructure costs that could be incurred by this. And then the notion is ongoing additional staff salaries, et cetera, is paid by ongoing property taxes that we charge. So that's the system. I'm not saying it works. I'm just saying that's the system. That's the legal system we have to follow on that. So we can't come to them and say, hey, pay us $50,000 and you can build this house or this project. That's how it used to work. We developed this, and we didn't, but someone developed this impact fee system. So that's how that's kind of covered. And I'll let you respond as applicant to the other items.
Sure. With respect to the timing from permitting to completion of construction, estimated about 18 months.
18?
18,
Okay.
yeah, 1-8. With respect to simultaneous development of the clubhouse, that's acceptable. Contrary to like what you see with a single-family residential subdivision, with the apartments, that clubhouse is also the leasing office,
Yeah.
and so that comes in, it all comes in at the same time. But I get the point of history has taught us on other projects to at least raise the question. And then with respect to the safety and security, access gate controlled to the buildings, but it's not a gated community, and in part that's so that there's no traffic backup and traffic flow within what we'd already talked about. But each individual gate would have or each individual building would have a key code to get in there, so.
In your experiences, I assume this isn't your first building that you built in the apartment space. I've been to others, the ones off the interstate up in South Daytona. I forget the name of those, but my buddy lived there for a while, and it was actually outside of like a few visitor spots by the leasing office. Every other parking was all behind a gate, so they kind of had, it seems like that would be better, but this isn't my space. What is it from your perspective?
We have found that really access control on the buildings more so than the parking lots, especially in a sort of grocery anchored or mixed use development is best. We want to promote connectivity with the other uses, pedestrian traffic, between the multi-uses there. So, those gates are really sort of a false sense of security, and all they are is just a maintenance. Within a week, they get knocked down every single time, and they really don't promote any more security, maybe a false sense of security.
Yeah.
The access control with fobs and stuff that you can, with digital screens where you can let your guests in, we have found, and industry-wide is really moving in that direction as much more secure than gates. Yes, sir.
All right, and to be clear, you are agreeable. Can we just assume that it's you're agreeable to, and it's included in whatever happens tonight? I assume this goes through that the amenities, everything will be built kind of in one phase, all key turned at the same time, not any kind of staging. So that's agreeable to you all. Okay. All right, we've heard from the public, we've heard of the applicant. Any last comments from the city, Jeff? Anything from what you've heard to clarify or follow up on?
No. The only thing I didn't mention earlier is we did have those conditions, a couple conditions attached to our staff report. The second one regarding the landscaping at Walmart, our code compliance officer has been in contact with the Walmart people. That's all progressing. They've located the old plans, and looks like it's going to be refurbished and installed. So we just want to separate that issue from this totally and have this stand on its own and not be dependent on that aspect.
Okay. All right, Joe.
I'm not sure if this is related to this project, so I think it's something that staff have to work with Walmart on terms of the code enforcement.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, the item before us is number 5222. Do I have a motion on this item?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve it with the one condition that I think that still remains is that the concept plan be revised to show the second access into the Walmart parcel itself. I did have concern over the maintenance, but that's not part of my request.
Okay, so it was a motion to approve with the one condition about the access point.
Would the motion maker consider having the site plan come back before the commission so we can take a look at it before approval?
I believe it does have to come back before us because of the size.
It goes to the planning and zoning board.
I'm agreeable to that. I don't necessarily think we're going to have to, but yes, I'll make that part of it.
Okay. So a motion was to...
Two conditions.
accept-
One is that they provide the
It's-
second.
The site plan would come to city commission for approval.
That was the motion maker. That was the motion.
Yeah, after the planning board.
After the planning board or in place of the planning board? I mean, I think...
It should be after.
Yeah, it should
I
be
would
after.
think.
Typically, it's after. If it
Okay.
comes back.
If I could maybe clarify as well, like there is already curb cut in the site for where the access point would go on the property. I just, from a standpoint of adding on an additional process this far along, staff knows exactly what the intent is. We will be able to deliver that secondary access point as a condition. Like, we know that we can't go forward with this without having that secondary access point in there. So I'm
Okay.
just,
Yeah.
I understand that, but I'm a big proponent of conceptual plans not being the level of a site plan, but that they truly represent what we're going to do. If the curb cut is there, good. Maybe you want to move it 10 feet, but a second means of access is fine.
Okay. So...
I'll second. Well, go ahead.
I was just going to, so we've had a lot of back and forth, so I just want to make sure we're all clear on the motion. So if you just kind of restate your motion, then we'll see if we get a second and go from
Motion
there.
is to approve the modification to the make the third amendment to the PUD Master Development Agreement, with the one condition being the recommendation of the staff to show the second access point on the conceptual plan be included, and that the site plan come back to the commission for final approval.
Okay, do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
I'm going to allow the applicant to make one last comment if you want to make one here.
yeah. Honestly, I appreciate the concern on that. From a standpoint of a conceptual plan, typically you would go before staff to review to ensure that it is sufficient. I think here I would kind of beg for your favor in this instance, in that this has been a long-term process. We'd really like to avoid coming back for additional public hearings with a different council once this goes through again, because by the time that gets finalized, I would think that, I don't know when your new commission takes.
First meeting in November.
Yeah, I feel that the process provides for, and again, this kind of goes back a little bit different to, is it a minor amendment or not? It was pitched as, listen, all you gotta do is do a slip sheet. That'll be the only thing that you gotta do. It'll take 3 months. That was back in November, January this year. And I just would ask that, from the standpoint of, if you want to defer, make sure, and instruct staff to have to review, and that it gets recorded, that an updated concept plan with the curb cut is included in the recorded document, I can absolutely get that done for you guys immediately. I think it's in the system already for Kevin at Parker Mitchenberg. We can have that turned around.
That's what I'm
immediately.
asking for.
Yeah, we can make sure that that's in place.
I
If
don't
you would-
want a separate meeting just to look at the conceptual.
That's what I'm getting at,
I
yeah.
don't want that.
Okay, so if that, then we can agree to have that into staff, and that'll be in the final recorded document without having to come back for a site plan review at council. If you could amend the motion, that'd be appreciated.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that would be a change to the motion, because you had specifically said site plan come back to commission.
Yes, site plan come back.
Okay. What I think I just heard from him, though, was that was, I don't know that y'all are saying the same thing, but y'all seem like you agreed at the end, but I don't think y'all are saying the same thing. So I'm just, I need somebody to tell me who's right. So to my commissioner, I think he was saying he would submit the curb, like they've got that ready, they can submit that to staff, but it doesn't, basically they don't want to come back to, they don't have to come all the way back here and go through that process again.
They have to come back here for a site plan.
That was the
approval.
motion.
Yes, but
Okay.
not a special trip for the conceptual plan.
But that would be, going back here for site plan, as I understand it, we would only be going to planning board otherwise for this project, is that correct? I just want to make sure, if we're required to go for site plan for the commission, that's fine, but if we're not, I don't want to have to, I don't see why we're adding an additional.
It's not a requirement.
So it's not a requirement, he's adding it as a requirement within his motion. I think what he was saying, what Commissioner Colodey was saying is, it's not 2 trips back, it's not one back from conceptual just with the curb cut, he's just saying at the end of all of it, wanted it to come back here. What I think the applicant is saying is, why? So, which.
Well, for the site plan.
Yeah.
And I got the motion maker to tack that on, so that's really a question for me. And the bottom line is, I understand your concern, but you can take that site plan, and it's really just a chance for us to give you comments. I understand I don't have the ability to deny you the right to put this up. But when we've been burned so many times, what happens a lot of times is we think we have a good understanding and then we leave it to staff, right? And then it gets approved. This is all we see of it. And we see what goes up. Staff gets stuck in the middle because we're looking at staff like, what is that? And you guys are like, we did what staff said. If I had a penny every time I had an attorney tell me, hey, that's your staff's fault then, because that's what your staff wanted. I just want that ability to be able to look at what your final project is and look at you and say, good job, or, that didn't really meet what we were really trying to get to. And it's really something that, and I apologize for any inconvenience, but we don't have any ability to deny you on it. We know that. So it's one meeting for something that's going to be in this community for decades.
It's also, before you say anything, it's also an issue of transparency, is people don't always pay attention to planning and zoning. When you're doing a major project such as this, and the reason I agree to it is because I like the public to see it, and they can go online, they can watch us, and we're done.
And I can see the value in that, other than from a site plan review standpoint, you're effectively reviewing technical compliance. You're meeting the requirement of the traffic engineer, the DOT, and whatnot. The feedback then from the elected officials, I just don't know. Yeah. I think you may understand.
I hear you. I think Vice Mayor said it well.
And I understand your concern.
Okay.
More so your irritation. I get it. Yeah. But I just don't want to be stuck in a situation where I'm looking at the planner saying, what the hell happened? And he's like, well, this is what we just want to be able to come by us one last time for us to make comments. It's not going to be changes, but it's the ability to make sure that you guys, and that's something that I would look to change in the code, just so the finger pointing and blame, doesn't continue the way it has for the last 5-10 years during this economic upturn, and we get all these new projects, and I see the attorney or the representative out somewhere, and I'm like, hey, what happened? I thought we were supposed to get this or that. And that person's response is, and that's not you, I've never had that problem with you, I want to make that clear. But we've been burned many times. So I apologize for the
only flip
irritation
side,
and inconvenience.
And the only flip side that I would add to that is, if we are coming back next week, and I knew that we've been reasonable here, and the whole process has been reasonable. Even talking with Jeff to begin with, hey, do this. Let's not argue about whether you should or not. Let's just go do it. And we're like, yes, let's go do that. That is constantly added up to kind of further and further. So I'm very, very concerned
The timeline.
with the assurances. I don't know who's going to be at this dais and whether the reasonableess that we see tonight will be present there.
Yeah.
I hope you understand where my concern
Yeah.
comes from
No,
with that.
So, real quick question for staff. So I guess the way I see it is we're not adding a tremendous amount of time. If it goes to P&Z, if it goes through all the other processes and goes to P&Z, at most, the gap between a P&Z meeting and a commission meeting is a week or two, right?
Probably 2 weeks.
So I guess, I hear everything you're saying. I think you've heard everything we're saying, and you all have been very reasonable, and you could have pushed harder on some stuff, maybe, so I hear it, and I get the concern over we are in election season, but I think what I'm hearing from staff is, at most, between a P&Z to a commission meeting, our commitment would be we'll try to get you on as soon as possible after whatever P&Z. So we're talking a week to 2 weeks max that we're adding, and in the grand scheme of things, and for a project that I'm going to drive past with my kids and my grandkids, it's probably not a tremendous amount of time to ask to add to the project. Yeah, I'm a numbers guy. I know every day counts, and I know you're paying a note somewhere, but I think that's what we're asking. So that's what the motion was. So,
And
last comment.
Last comment. I do get concerned about taking a process outside the norm of the process with the PD, and to the question of, is it just for a look-see, and therefore it's pro forma going to be approved? You can't commit to that because you can't bind your commission to, however many months it is when we come back to you. So then what are we going to, I'm failing to see the upside on, I get you guys wanting to see what's going to happen, but all there is a jeopardy that we're going to be outside the norm of the process. Is planning board now no longer my final action? And now I'm going to, it brings up a lot of other issues versus making sure that you have a staff report from your staff saying, this is coming up on planning board next week, be aware of this is coming forward, here's what we're providing. There's nothing that stops a staff report coming to the commission to let you be aware, and if there's instruction to at the planning board, because then that's final action, and now our appeal rights and everything else are fine. It becomes just mind-boggling good intentions that can lead to a lot of problems with that. So, thank you for hearing my point on that, but I just strongly
I hear your point. I hear my colleague's point. We had a motion, I believe. We had a motion. We had a second. Any other discussion from the commission?
If you're allowing discussion, may I?
Really briefly. I think we all know where we stand on the project.
Gentlemen, I don't vote the way I do because it's safe or to be a contrarian. This could be a great project. This may not be a great project, and it really has nothing to do with you gentlemen. But I do have to live with how I vote, considering the quality of life for my fellow New Smyrnans. I'm very concerned about sustainability and that quality of life. So I'll just leave it at that. You guys know where I stand usually on big, momentous projects.
I get it.
You get it.
We know where you stand. And again, we all stand there. The problem is if we all voted no, Mark would make a bundle.
I know.
He's kind of wishing we would almost, because he'd get paid out.
No.
He makes more money if we vote no, and the developer doesn't make as much, because he gets paid out. The meter starts spinning the minute we vote no. So, all right, City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Colodi,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks,
No.
Mayor Owen.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, Thank you. All right. First readings, Carrie, this is you. If you'll run through all those for me.
Ordinance number 5322. An ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 6, Development, Design, and Improvement Standards, Section 60409I, Special Parking District Regulations, to expand the Flagler Avenue Special Parking District, providing for codification, providing for public hearings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. I believe you have a piece of paper on the dais that the clerk handed out regarding this item.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah. What's your question?
So I have a comment. We've been approached and discussed that we not only do the property at, what is it, 214, that we also include the property directly to the west of that, which would include the church parking lot and the parking lot that we also lease from the church for city parking. As you can see by the map, the north part of those two parcels of property are already in the Flagler parking overlay. So all we're doing is extending it down to the Columbus Street and from the existing, the property before us at 214 over to Peninsula. So it makes sense to me that we square off this corner and include it into the Flagler overlay. And if we can do that at the next reading, I think it would be appropriate.
So you want to add? So you're talking about all the existing church-owned parking, either what they use or what is leased to the city, to be included in the special parking district?
Yes.
I have no problem with that.
Does staff have any problems with this?
No, it would just require one change at line 20, but it doesn't change the title, so it can be revised. The map can change. Yes, I can make that happen.
Okay. Yeah, but I don't think I have any issues with it. So, Commissioner Floody, comment?
I have no problem with the concept. The, where the thrift store is that currently in the district?
Yes.
If we're gonna, that's fine, I have no problem. I just don't wanna leave a little donut hole in there or
Right.
something
No.
that's left out.
This eliminates that. It makes it contiguous all the way from 214 all the way west to Peninsula, that whole half of the block, so.
I have no problem with that change.
Okay.
Second reading and public hearing will be September 13, 2022.
Okay.
Ordinance number 5422, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending ordinance number 6317 to revise user charges for the collection of garbage and household trash, yard trash, and household receptacles, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be September 13th, 2022. Ordinance number 5522, an ordinance annexing into the City of New Smyrna Beach 0.27 plus or minus acres of property located on the west side of Bolton Road between Pine Island Drive and Live Oak Drive, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 4, providing for a public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be September 13th, 2022. Ordinance number 5622, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 0.27 plus or minus acres of land located on the west side of Bolton Road between Pine Island Drive and Live Oak Drive from Volusia County urban low intensity to city low density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for a public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be September 13th, 2022. Ordinance number 5722. An ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 0.27 plus or minus acres of property located on the west side of Bolton Road between Pine Island Drive and Live Oak Drive from Volusia County R1A Urban Single Family Residential Airport Overlay to City R1 COA Urban Single Family Residential Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be September 13th, 2022.
Is that all of them? All right. Gentlemen, we have no boards and commissions, mayor and commissioner reports. We'll begin with the vice mayor as always. Started this meeting. Go
No
ahead.
comment, Mayor.
All right. Commissioner Hartman.
So the primary was tonight. Congratulations to the winners and condolences to the losers.
Are you sure you got that in the right order?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder. All right, is that it? Any
That's
other
it.
comments? All right, Commissioner Clody.
Two items. One is the same thing that rears its head all the time, stop signs all over the place. Our manual doesn't even address stop signs. We got to talk about what's right and what's wrong and whether we want to be a town of four-way stops or not. Gentleman in the back brought up one problem area. I'm familiar with it. And I know of other ones over in the South mainland area. I would like to see them on the agenda, but we really don't have any guidelines as to how to address it. So perhaps we should look to the staff to give us an idea. Staff.
Guidelines for the stop signs?
Yes, recommendations as to how we address them. If we keep telling everybody that the traffic counts don't justify them, then maybe we shouldn't have any more. Maybe we should take away some we have, but it's an issue we really have to look into. The second item, I don't need an answer. Second item is I got a call, in fact, more than one call, with the proliferation of golf carts. A situation has appeared on the North Causeway. The pathway through there has golf carts zigzagging back and forth across the North Causeway so they can get from the mainland over to the beach side. One of the problems that leads to traffic difficulties is the pavement markings that we have where DeSoto comes out, where Barracuda comes out, really don't exist anymore. When you come out of Barracuda, there's 2 lanes. There's absolutely no marking. There was almost an accident.
On the North Causeway, Commissioner Kalodi?
Well, are they on the causeway or on the marginal road? I think it's a situation that involves both of them. I know some's not our responsibility, but some are. So if you could take a look at that and kind of try to address that. You come out of Barracuda, there's a left and a right turn lane. There's no markings whatsoever. Sometimes when people in the left lane tend to go straight, the golf carts kind of get in the way. So I'd like that looked at. I did have a third thing, which I can't remember what it is right now. So I'm done at 2.
Okay. Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, the first item, regretfully, I will be relinquishing our family duties in the Adopt a Park program at the Indian River Lagoon Preserve. It is with much regret that we do so. Just getting back to good health, unfortunately for a while there, I had to lay off cleaning a large part of that park. It is a tremendous park, and I hope someone adopts it very soon. I want to thank staff. David had left, David Ray, in charge of maintenance ops. They do a bang-up job keeping that park cut, mowed, cleaned up where I can't. But again, it's one of our real treasures in this city, and hopefully someone will take up that task of keeping that park clean. Actually, it's not very difficult. It's just expansive. It's a very large park. So I just want to let everybody know that was a real honor, high honor, and a pleasure, because that's our favorite place. I just want to briefly bring up again Saks, and it appears that the voices of the people who live on and around Saks are resoundingly saying that they would like the speed limit lowered. I think they've asked for other improvements, traffic calming on that road. My wife has submitted a traffic calming petition with the guidelines in the manual, and therefore Kyle's review and college review, and then eventually they'll come back to us, so we'll see where that goes. I'm not going to make any judgments, but that's the commission's call to see if we can make that a better, safer road. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you for your work in the park, and you and many others, that's one of those quiet things that's done throughout the community that, you know, kind of is the unsung heroes of our community. So we appreciate it. And I don't think this commission, you know, we haven't had very many that came before us that met all the terms of the traffic calming manual. One example, though, came tonight, and it was a consent agenda item. I mean, so if we can get there and follow the manual, you know, the hope would be, the manual's not perfect, but the hope would be that these could become less contentious. On stop signs, to Commissioner Colodey's point, I talked to someone earlier who lived on Riverside near the stop sign that had been put in at Anderson or wherever that was that we put one in. And they were saying that they were here in support of the phase 2, but they were saying they lived on whichever side of the stop sign. They said, for us, this actually made the problem worse, because they say people stop at the stop sign and then they're trying to make up the time, so they just gun it after the stop sign. So they said, from our perspective, this made the problem worse. So they weren't here to complain. They were here to support further phasing. But, you know, the one thing, if I take one thing away from my time in office, staff tried to hammer in our head, stop signs are not speed control devices. And yet I think we have erroneously, and I'll mea culpa, I'll take some culpability in this, we have, as a city, based on peer pressure almost from our citizens, we've tried to use them as speed control devices. So my hope is, I don't know how many of these will come before me in the next 3 or 4 meetings, but I think keeping to the discipline of that traffic calming will be important moving forward, and is the path forward. So with that, I didn't have anything else that I know of. At the budget workshop, I know that it was talked, I haven't watched the whole thing yet. My apologies for missing that. I've been fighting this ear infection, and occasionally it'll flare up and just give me these intense headaches. So my real apologies for that. But I know it was discussed about salaries for staff and potentially some adjustments for those. I just want to confirm that's going to be on a future agenda for discussion on September what?
I think it's going to be on the 13th.
Okay.
That the HR will put it on the 13th.
All right, so September 13th. And then I think at the last commission meeting, I heard a few of my colleagues, there were a couple items that I had wanted to have added. Again, I don't even know if we'll have time to get through first and second readings and everything else, but I do think it's really important to rehab this discussion on e-scooters and it being allowed. I don't know actually if there's state statutes now at play where we can or can't regulate. So I'd be looking to maybe city attorney to just give commission some insight on what we can and can't do at this point, now that we kind of did open the can of worms. But before our next major event, again, I stood there on the street and I watched them. They become nuisances. They're not used for transportation. They're used for frivolity, and with numerous cases. So anyway, so that was one, and there were a couple others. So I hope staff can reflect on my comments of the last meeting. I think at least 2 of my colleagues said they supported bringing some of those items back. So if we can get those back on, I'll remind you all what they were, but we can get those on some agenda, very, very small items, but just to tidy up a bit. All right, yes.
Just to mirror your comment, the county, you probably already know, the county has prohibited the powered skateboard from the beaches.
Yeah.
I think they're having a hard time enforcing that.
Ours would be easy to enforce because we just punt the operators out. I mean, look, if it comes next spring break, I won't be an elected official, but all those scooters would be disappeared. I'd be charging them all for the whole week of spring break. Because that's how the system works. Just any random person go picks them up, they charge them, they get paid through the app, and it's kind of this whole shared economy. I think it would, I'll take care of it. So, we have city manager report.
You have the report before you. If you have any questions.
Any questions
I'll be
for city
more than
manager on
happy
his
to
report? City attorney report, anything?
No report.
City clerk, I think there was one thing that she had highlighted. Anything on that? No. No? Okay. Any questions for any of the staff on their reports? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.